So
Okay.
We're trying to get, make sure that there's only one meeting going on.
She says she's trying to make sure.
I
You don't see two meetings?
did one meeting.
IT says there's only one meeting.
There's only one meeting. Let's see, it's, all right, so we're about to, do the, so I don't see Wes. I think Wes Bridges and Mr. Kaloji is somewhere else.
Council President,
Hello?
there is another meeting.
There it is.
Yes, the link that was sent is the incorrect link. There are 25 people in another meeting, including Mr. Bridges.
Miss, can IT straighten that out, Miss Carter?
He's
Because, Mr. Kaloji and Mr. Bridges are both in a separate meeting. I'm gonna put myself on mute and try to find out where they are. Miss Carter,
yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna try to find out, and IT should be trying to find out where
Yes,
Mr.
Sam.
Bridges,
Sam,
Yes.
Mr. Kaloji, and
Sam is
25
trying to
other
figure out
people.
what's going on.
I got off the,
You
got.
Let me put myself on mute, and I'll go,
Where we at, Abdul?
try to send Mr. Kaloji and
It's
Miss
cool.
Wu,
Still in sheetrock.
this
I'll
link.
fix all that. Where's my rotors at? I'll fix all that. That ain't
Mr. Kaloji, are you on this call?
Yeah, I could cut it with this. It don't matter.
Mr. Kaloji,
Plug this out.
What is all that noise? You all need to mute yourself.
Somebody's working with an electric show.
Calling it.
excuse me.
Could I access this meeting clicking that link?
All right.
Yeah,
Same here. Same here.
thank you.
Could you put yourselves on mute, please?
I did send the email out to the clerk as well as the council members advising them to go on to the link on
Could
the
you please
website.
put yourselves on mute if you're not a part of the council?
And for us, the big lie, it has metastasized all across Republican Party politics then, now, and in the future.
Miss Carter,
Yes,
listen, I need for IT to be very attentive. If people are not muting themselves and they are constantly coming into this meeting, I need IT to do their job and mute them permanently for this evening.
okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Miss Edward Kaloji, are we on the meeting?
Yes, Ms. Kaloji, you're.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so we're waiting for Mr. Kaloji and Mr. Bridges to come on this particular line.
Mr.
Mr.
Kaloji
Kaloji's
is in.
on.
Council President, Councilwoman Vaughn has just joined.
Yeah, we have Mr. Kaloji and Mr. Bridges on another line with 25 other people. We're trying to.
I'm here, Council President. I just got in.
Okay, Mr. Kaloji is here. For some reason or another. Gotta turn it on. Mr. Bridges, are you on the line?
He is still on the other line.
Sent him over. Sent him over.
Give me a chicken teriyaki bowl. Don't give me the little one.
Here, don't get that dog stuff out my food.
I had a cooler here.
If you're not a part of the council, I need you to mute yourselves. Is Mr. Bridges on? I'm gonna try one more time to get Mr. Bridges on this call.
Good evening. No, actually, it just went straight to the voicemail. How are you? This is Kenneth Miles from Trenton, Germany. I'm very tired. Tired, but I am doing well.
Okay.
You know, you have to listen to
Is Mr. Bridges on?
I'm just like, today, nope, I'm not doing too much today. So listen, I'm calling you, and you're actually.
I need you to mute yourself if you're not the council. I cannot keep repeating that.
We're going to
Mr. Bridges will be on shortly.
Miss Fenella, I need these people to mute themselves. I need IT to do their job tonight.
Well, I see several. I don't know if they're talking, but they're not muted.
Well, anyway, I'm reaching out to you.
Okay, I'm gonna hang up. Okay.
Definitely want Miss Armstrong a part of the campaign.
Yes.
We got the dates, and I will give you.
Oh, there he is. Why am I seeing a video?
We're shooting.
Okay.
Is Mr. Bridges on? I don't know what the difficulty is for Mr. Bridges.
The difficulty with Mr. Bridges is that the link that's on the city's website and the first two links that I got took me to a meeting with 35 people that are sitting here, which is the link I accessed. There was a representation that the city link was updated, so I logged back on and went onto that link again, and it still took me to the meeting where I was with Mr. Kaloji with about 35 people present.
Yeah. Is IT addressing this?
I just got a message that IT cannot do anything to merge those links at this time. So the only thing that we can do is I gave the dial-in information on the other call that's at the for this link and told them to do it. But in terms of getting to the actual link for a computer, you know, I'm happy to do it, but I may have to be absent for a minute because I'm going to have to get the contact information for everybody that's sitting in the other meeting to forward them the proper link. So how you know, if you want to, and I did.
Yes, because Mr. Kaloji is on. So the first part of this is basically, the first part of it is the executive set is the reports, and then the executive session, Mr. Bridges. So I don't know how we're going to handle this. Is Mr. Hoffman on this phone call?
I sent you. I sent you.
Mr. Hoffman confirmed. I just need to know if he's on the link.
Got you. I'm gonna forward this to Ed now. Again.
Mr. Kaloji is on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes.
I did change the browser as Mr. Harris suggested, so I'm in. So I guess that was probably the key. I'm assuming.
The answer. Thank you. That was the answer.
Mr. Bridges, can you go over on the other link to see if Mr. Hoffman is in that group?
I'll do it right now. Yes. Bear with me.
Mr. Hoffman might be scheduled. I have to ask. I think he's scheduled for the 16th. So, Mr. Bridges, the articles that you have to go into executive session, Mr. Hoffman will definitely be here on the 16th. Can they be pushed to the 16th?
Sorry, I was listening to it. Yes, that is
Mhm.
that's perfect. That's fine.
So we'll just move the executive session all into Thursday.
Understood.
All righty. Because I'm looking at his confirmation is for this June the 16th. All right, so Miss Carter, we may begin this meeting.
Okay. You're gonna call the meeting to order?
Yes, I'm going to read the statement. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting is being called to order. Adequate notice of this meeting has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, pursuant to Public Laws 1975, Chapter 231. This agenda is complete to the extent known and was sent to the Trenton Times, posted on the first floor bulletin board in the City Hall, filed in the City Clerk's office, and posted on the City of Trenton's website. Formal action will be taken. Ms. Carter, roll call.
Councilwoman Caldwell Wilson,
Present.
Councilman Harrison,
Present.
Councilman Michelle,
Present.
Councilman Rodriguez,
Present.
Councilwoman Vaughn,
Present.
Councilwoman Wilkins,
Present.
Council President McBride,
Present.
Mr. Kaloji,
Unmute yourself, Mr. Kaloji.
I'll see everybody on the other side.
Mr. Kaloji,
I'm sorry, I'm present.
Mr. Cruz,
Present.
Mr.
Good evening.
Mr. Cherry,
I'm present. Good evening, everyone.
Mr. Liston,
Present.
Mr. Bridges,
Present.
Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Mr. Douglas,
Good evening, President.
Mr. Daniels,
Good evening, everyone. Sally Samuel on behalf of Director C. Andre Daniels.
Dr. Lopez,
Good evening, I'm present.
Ms. Richardson,
I am present. Good evening, everyone.
Mr. Lavenberg,
Why it's, oh God.
Mr. Lavenberg,
Present.
and Mr. Zelinski.
Present.
Okay. The invocation and flag salute should be at the regular meeting on Thursday, am I correct?
Yes, you are.
Not today.
No.
Excuse me, Miss Penny. You miss Onichiri. Thank you. I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
I marked you present, but I didn't read your name. Okay. Communications and petitions are noted for the record. And under reports, we have two, American Legion Mitchell A. Davis Post number 182 for the 2022-2023, their pull tag license renewal. May I have a motion approving?
I thought that was for Thursday.
That's for Thursday.
Okay, I keep forgetting. And then the other one is a redevelopment presentation by Mr. Palumbi and Mr. Hoffman. That's for Thursday also, right?
Yes, it is.
And the ordinances for public hearing on Thursday are ordinance 22-14, capital ordinance appropriating $2 million from the Capital Improvement Fund to pay for repaving of streets in the city of Trenton, in the county of Mercer, state of New Jersey. Consent or roll call? Oh, no, that's a public hearing. Sorry. 22-15 is an ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned property identified on the city tax map as 437 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, Block 6608, Lot 2, pursuant to NJSA 40A:12-13B5 to Torrance Green for the sum of $8,800. Ordinance 22-16, an ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned property identified on the city tax map as 139 Morris Avenue, Block 16602, Lot 1, pursuant to NJSA 40:12-13B5 to Fifi.
I thought that was voted out. Go ahead, Councilwoman Vaughn.
Well, is it appropriate for me to speak at this time? Yes. So
Yes,
22, thanks for yielding the floor to me, Council President. 22-16, I have concerns about. I thought, actually, I'm almost certain that there were a lot of concerns about this particular ordinance. I'm surprised that it's even here on the docket this evening. And I would want to move to remove it from the docket and not for deliberation and vote by the council, because I don't know how it got here in Council President. I don't know what the understanding is.
For which one is that for?
This is 2216, 139 Morris Avenue. That is the Baldessari property.
Right, and I thought that had been voted down.
Yes.
Excuse me, President. Yeah, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Vaughn. Council President.
Yes.
The 22-16 that Councilwoman Vaughn and yourself are speaking of, it actually wasn't voted down. I went back to my notes. The actual ordinance was pulled. We never voted on the ordinance. It was pulled by Director C.A. Daniels, I guess for because of the fact that we had questions with regard to it. So it shouldn't even be on second reading because it was never voted on at all. It was actually pulled. So when it was put back on the docket by the administration, they automatically put it in second reading.
Right, and it should have been put back to the first reading, so
Correct.
It has to come off. So
Yes,
Ms.
it has
Penny
to come
Carter,
Yes.
Ms. Carter, 22-16 has to be removed. I don't even know if I have to go back to the notes to determine what was asked of Mr. C. Daniels when the administration pulled it. But I also, because I think it was the price, and I think it was valued at $34,000, and they were trying to sell it for $7,000. If my notes are correct, I believe that is the appraisal on the property. Original appraisal was $34,000, and then they went with some appraiser that appraised it for $7,000, and so that was a big concern of the councils, and so it needs to come off because he never explained how it jumped from $34,000 in value as a parking lot, and the revenue is based on, he never explained it. I'll just leave it like that for now. And how it, even if he would place it back on, if he had given us the information that was requested, it still wouldn't go to second reading. It would go to the first reading. So it has to come off. 22-16. It shouldn't even be on, so we don't have to wait for Thursday to pull it because it should not be on.
Okay. Excuse me.
Please make note of that, Ms. Carter.
Yeah, I have. It needs to be more explanation. Plus, needs to be scheduled for first reading. Um, 22 days.
Council President, before you go on, Council President, I just want to just follow up what you just said, and I do concur with all what you just stated and what Councilwoman Wilkins stated. And it's just very concerning that something of that nature would usurp the legislative process. And I would like Mr. Kaloji in the Law Department to chime in here and explain how can this possibly happen, and what controls that are in place, and what advice is Mr. Bridges is giving to the administration at docket time, because things like this should not slip through the cracks. This is extraordinary, and this is very concerning. It puts the city at risk, and the docket's supposed to be reviewed by the attorney. And I just want to know who signed this ordinance. Can we look at that, Miss Carter, Miss Edwards Carter? Can you put that ordinance up on the screen so I can see whether the Law Department, Mr. Bridges, signed off on it for form and legality?
She wants to see the ordinance. I'm not sure I know how to do that. Councilwoman Wilson,
he did sign off on it.
Pardon me, who signed off on it?
Yes, he did sign off.
Mr. Bridges.
Just did.
So, Mr. Bridges, can Mr. Bridges speak on his rationale for signing off on this, and whether he was aware that it did not go through the legislative process?
I signed off on it as a form of legality. I looked at it to see if what was being proposed was legal as to what was being done, what formal action was taken, and whether or not it was in proper format. With respect to questions or inquiries that the council made to the department that's putting this forth, I unless and until I'm told you don't have the information that was requested, I'm not going to assume that you don't. I do have in my notes that there was certain information requested, i.e. the appraisal. So unless and until it's brought to my attention that there's something illegal about it, it's legal as the form of legality. You are correct. Again, I'll agree with you because I don't have that information that this should be a first reading. But with respect to the legality of what's being proposed, there's nothing improper about it. However, if the mechanism,
that's not what I'm asking, sir.
I think that's what you're asking.
That you have sat in on these meetings and you have taken your notes. You understood what the council had asked for. We had asked for the appraisal, and we challenged the appraisal. So
right, and you got an appraisal, right?
Well, I'm not finished with my question, sir. Okay. Now, Mr. Daniels, you also represent the administration. I'm not asking you about understanding what council requirements were. Council requirements is such that we do not want erroneous legislation showing up on our docket that has not gone through the appropriate process. So you review everything that goes on the docket, and that you are the checkpoint, you are the control, the Law Department. And I just want to know, how can you allow such a piece of legislation of material significance as selling public property for $7,000 under the market value get on this docket? Because you should have met with Mr. Daniels. You should have sat down with him. I would think that since he presented it to you for you to sign off on a legality, form of legality, that you would have caught such a thing. You would have told Mr. Daniels that, sir, this is inappropriate and I cannot introduce this to council for consideration. And I don't understand. Do you have those meetings with the administration? Did you have the meeting with Mr. Daniels regarding Ordinance 2216? Did you have the discussion with Mr. Daniels when he introduced this to you for signature?
I did not discuss this, Mr. Daniels. This was brought to my attention when we get the docket from the clerk and from this council, which control the docket, which we get typically the day before we have an initial docket meeting with council president and the designee. So there are multiple checks and balances. The checks and balances ultimately stop with the entity that issues this agenda, and we have conversations. We've had conversations with Mr. Daniels. We've had conversations with council. We've had emails back and forth. Again, unless until I'm told the council doesn't have the information that they want, there's nothing illegal about this. However, the process, the logistics of it in terms of getting it on the agenda may have been a mishap. I'm sure, as you could appreciate, there's a scramble to get this docket done every meeting. So we're more often not looking at this at the last minute. And moreover, things are being added even after we have docket review. So I understand your question, and my answer remains the same. There is nothing illegal about this, but if a mistake was made either putting this on there, I don't know if this was put on there by mistake or not. I don't know if it was put on for second reading by mistake or not. But I do know the sum and substance of the ordinance itself is kosher. So
Thank you, Mr. Bridges, and thank you, Council President. All I want to know is I just want to make sure going forward that the law department will be a little bit more a bit more rigor around these the ordinance and resolution that makes the docket, and that you apply the signature to.
I apply rigor to anything that I put my signature.
So there's the reason that
somebody at 571
there's a couple things, Mr. Gonzalez.
571-340. Mute yourself. 571-340-773. Mute yourself.
And Mr. Gonzalez, you need to remove your video because there's a lot of static on that video. Mr. Felix Gonzalez, you need to shut your video off. So there's a couple things here. When we have the review, like the conference session, like we're having this evening, there are notes taken from all entities. And so tonight, Ms. Sally Samuels is representing Mr. Daniels, Wes is representing the law department, and Mrs. Carter is representing the council. So when this was pulled for the actual information in reference to the price is going down on the actual property, to sell the property from 34,000 to 7,000. That was a question, and that was put to Mr. Daniels, Ms. Samuels, and in Mrs. Carter notes, her notes should have reflected that the ordinance 2216 was pulled, and if the council didn't get the information would go to the clerk's office. And if the information didn't go through the clerk's office, then that means that the council didn't receive it, because we don't have the authority to speak to any directors on a direct call. And so Mr. Bridges, Ms. Penny Carter, and Mr. Daniels should have made sure that we received the information. And Mrs. Carter notes has to always reflect every ordinance that is to be put on, and every ordinance that should be on first reading and second reading, because that's a part of her duties doing this docket and this agenda. But the most important thing is that Mr. Bridges said that there's nothing illegal in the language, and the only thing that I'm questioning is that we asked about the $34,000 price tag for this property, and how this property got to $7,000. And so when when Mr. Daniels told us that their new appraiser had appraised this for $7,000, we questioned that appraiser, because the initial appraisal of that property was $34,000. So I would appreciate it if we did get the information back, Mrs. Samuels and Mr. Bridges and Ms. Carter, why this property dropped from $34,000 to $7,000, based on
It
the
actually
fact
went
that
up,
it is a parking.
Council President,
Right.
if I may, it actually went up. And from my notes, what I do have is the council, and I have actual screenshots of the picture, albeit of the wrong property that was put up, but there was a request for an appraisal done before it was transferred. The initial price, as stated, was 33,000 and change. The appraisal that was requested by this council came back higher. And that information, I was told, was provided to this council, and the information was also provided that the owner, that the proposed purchaser was willing to pay the higher price. So that's the information I had from my notes that was requested by this council in order to address this issue. And unless someone tells me otherwise, I thought that that appraisal was provided to this council body through the clerk's office.
Council President, this is Sally
Hey,
Sam. Can I
there it is.
provide some information that could clarify some of the questions?
Yes, go right ahead, Ms. Samuels.
Thank you so very much, Council President, and all council members. So in essence, what I'm looking at now is I'm looking at a memorandum that was done on June 14th that basically provided the information to the council. However, it was sent from the director to the business administrator, and I presume based on this conversation that council did not ultimately receive this memo. So what I will do
So
first.
what is the date?
So it's dated June 14th, 2022. With the memo regarding.
Which is today, Ms. Samuels.
That's today.
I'm sorry, not. I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. It's not dated June 14th. It's dated. Let me go back to the actual email. I apologize. It's dated May 18th, 2022. I apologize. I'm looking at today's date and I'm getting confused. I apologize for that, but thank you for pointing that out, Council President. So it's dated May 18th, 2022. It was a memo, a memo that came from Director Daniels to the business administrator, since, as you indicated, the council cannot communicate directly with the directors. And it was our hope that this memo would have reached the council, but notwithstanding the fact that it didn't, just to clarify, the initial $34,000 value that council keeps referring to came before council in an ordinance back in 2020. And initially the city was looking to sell block 16602, lot 1 and 3. And they were looking to sell 2 lots for that amount. At that time, the council raised issue and said that they wanted an appraisal on those 2 lots and that they would not move forward on that ordinance to sell the 2 lots for $34,000. During that time, the real estate division staff did go ahead and they got an appraisal. They had to get an appraisal for 1 lot. Lot 1, which is 139 Morris, came back at being $7,000 appraised value. That lot, so just that you know, that lot is only has a square footage of a 20 by 100. Okay, it's not the larger lot that everybody thinks it is. It's not the entire parking lot. It is just a part of the parking lot. And the reason why that lot was going to be sold was that at some point in time, when the Baldessari family owned the property, their property, which is adjacent to our lot, they made an improvement on their kitchen and expanded their kitchen and encroached on the city's lot. And they encroached on it to the effect or to the amount of 20 by 100, which is what we're considering 139 Morris. And so right now, this sale is intended to transfer title to the lot where the part of their kitchen is already sitting on. And that lot technically is undersized. And we're trying to rectify the encroachment issue. And just to say this, when the Baldessari when the Fifi family came and proposed the $34,000, it was $34,000 for 2 lots. But then now that they've asked us, now that we were asked to do the appraisal, unfortunately the appraisal came in at less than what they had offered. And so that's why only at $7,000 for lot 1. The reason why lot 3 is not included right now in this ordinance, as it was initially in the other ordinance, was because I had advised the real estate division that we cannot sell lot 3 until Fifi family has ownership of lot 1, because lot 3 has to be sold to the contiguous owner. They don't become the contiguous owner until they own lot 1. So we're not including the sale of lot 3, which only appraised for $10,500. And so until we can get the approval from council to sell lot 1 for $7,000, which is what it appraised for, to the Fifi family, we cannot move forward with an ordinance to sell lot 3 at $10,500. Yes, I am as upset as probably most of the council and probably some of the public that we are now only getting a total of $17,500 when we could have gotten $34,000 for the property. But we were asked to do an appraisal, and because we're only selling the encroachment is only worth $7,000. It's not the entire parking lot. And I can forward this memo and the map, as well as pictures, to the council, which should have come to the council on May 18th, but I'm not sure why it did not. But I can do so that you can consider this information. We can also provide the copies of the appraisals, and maybe once you've considered this information, we can have this added back to the docket for first reading. Thank you so very much for your time, and if there are any other further questions, I'm willing to answer them.
All right, thank you. And moving on, because if this was given back in May, there's no reason that the council should not have it. And also, we're not talking about just encroachment. We're talking about parking spaces, a parking lot, which is in high demand in any area of the city of Trenton. So we can move on, Ms. Carter, remove 22-16 from this docket. And I would ask everyone, if when they do come to the review, that they would please bring all of their notes with them. Thank you so much. Ms. Carter, you may continue.
The last did was with the police department. Didn't you do one with them recently?
Please mute yourself.
Oh, okay. So it's the C-Center outreach.
Ordinance 22-17 is an ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned property identified on the city tax map as 178 Sherman Avenue, Block 21601, Lot 70, pursuant to NJSA 40A:12-13B5 to Johanna A. Rodriguez for the sum of $5,300.
You may continue if there's no questions.
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilwoman Wong.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I mean, it was about 22-116. Very quickly, Ms. Samuels mentioned that the previous owner, which is no longer there anymore, the Baldessari family, that building has been vacant for quite some time. But she mentioned that they did an extension beyond. Was there a permit granted for that work? And I just asked that because this is the type of thing that happens in the city current day, that businesses are taking liberties that they shouldn't, and the inspections department and are not going out and assessing these properties to make sure that they're compliant with the code and that permits are granted for them to take these liberties. I just want Mr. Daniels to be aware of that. There should have been a permit for that undertaking, that project. And we should be taking inventory of the city to ensure that type of activity is not going on, and that folks are getting proper COs and permits are being issued to do that type of work, because that certainly speaks to the value of our properties and undervaluing the properties. Okay, thank you, Council President.
Ms. Penny Carter, you may continue.
22-17 is an ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned property identified on the city tax map as 178 Sherman Avenue, Block 21601, Lot 70, pursuant to NJSA 40A 12-13B5 to Johanna A. Rodriguez for the sum of $5,300. 22-19 is an ordinance creating the confidential position of clinical psychologist in the Department of Health and Human Services, newly established mental health and wellness program in the director's office, setting forth certain regulations for the implementation of the same.
Council President?
Yes, go ahead.
I had noted, and I mentioned to Dr. Lopez about considering reclassifying this role to the professional supervisory union versus or civil service, or versus keeping it in the non-professional classification or union. I think, you know, when you're talking about a clinical, you're talking about the marketplace, you're talking about valuing to market it, recruiting the appropriate level of talent. And I believe this is a degree position, requires a bachelor's degree. And I had mentioned that, and I just want to know, has the administration and Dr. Lopez consider just moving this position to a professional title? Just ensure that we get the right that we recruit the right level of expertise and experience in that role, and we don't lose out on the best and the brightest, because classifying a role like that, a clinical psychologist, in a non-professional category, really hinders us to be able to attract and recruit the appropriate level of talent. So I would like to see that reclassified. I mean, how difficult could that be? Could the business administrator speak to that? How difficult could that be? To do the right thing, a clinical psychologist should be a professional. It should be offered a market rate commensurate to that role.
So I'm asking Mr. Cruz to speak to it, or if Dr. Lopez is on the line, if she would speak to it, either one of them.
Yes, Madam
Mr.
President.
Cruz?
Yes, Madam President, thank you. At this time, it is best that Dr. Lopez explains it, as she is the one that is actually looking for the position, and she has a reason why it is selecting this title. And so I would rather have her explain it.
All righty, thank you, Mr. Cruz. Dr. Lopez?
Yes, Council President, I can speak?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay. Yes, just for this position, it's at least a master level position, Councilwoman Vaughn, not a bachelor level. And we did go according to civil service guidelines, and it would be a classified position, rather a confidential position rather than part of a union position. And I went through that with HR, and this is what was determined based on our conversations with Civil Service Commission.
Okay, so for clarity, so you're saying it's not a non-professional role, or is it a professional?
It's a professional role. It's confidential. It's just not a unionized position, so it has to be a confidential based on Civil Service Commission. Yes.
Okay, so based on that, so we get the opportunity to have a real competitive salary attached to this role, correct?
Right. Yes. So at a master's level, at least a master's level, it's starting off at $90,150 to $110,000.
So isn't that a big change in the ordinance?
No, that's what both of you. This is what City Council voted on the first hearing. And the salary was the same. Yes.
The salary
is
the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excuse me, Council President. I think the one that Councilwoman Vaughn is referencing is the mental health worker. The clinical psychologist, clinical psychologist is in the professional level. The mental health worker, I believe, Councilwoman Vaughn was the one that started at $55,000.
Oh, okay.
That's the one you were referencing.
Is that on the? So this is excellent. I'm sorry to
That's
confuse.
it. This is not the one.
Okay, very good.
So
yeah. Thank you, Councilwoman.
You're welcome.
So, Ms. Penny Carter, the other ordinance that should be here is 22-20, and it's not here. That's the ordinance that we passed in reference to the salaries for the seasonals. It should be here for second reading. Ms. Carter?
Yes, I hear what you're saying. Okay. I'm not sure why it's not, I'm not sure why it's not there. Was there questions? Were there questions? I thought it had been tabled. And it wasn't untabled.
No, not the salary ordinance. It had not been tabled.
The resolution was tabled, Council President.
Yeah, the resolution for the ARPA funding, but not the ordinance to increase the salaries for the seasonals. It should have been here, 22-20, Miss Penny Carter. It should be in your notes.
I'll have to go back in my notes then and look for it. I'm not sure why it's
all right, it needs,
so it'll be on for the 16th.
It should be.
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilwoman Caldwell-Wilson.
Yeah, regarding that ordinance changing the salary, this council does not have the authority to change the salaries for employees. We only have the authority to dictate the salaries for the mayor and the directors and municipal court, I believe.
Council President?
Wait, let me, Councilwoman Wilson, are you finished?
Yes, I am.
Council President? I would like Mr. Kaloji to chime in on that. I believe that what I suggest, I'm not suggesting to the salary, and the administration has brought it to council's approval, and having done so allows council to make recommendations or suggestions. Doesn't necessarily mean the administration has to, take those into account. You can take them into account or execute them or not. But we can, as a legislative body, we can, as representatives of this municipal corporation, we can in fact make recommendations. So this is the matter.
That's a resolution. That's not an ordinance.
But it's legislation that we are approving, and we can deliberate and we can negotiate with the administration on all the topics of legislation that impacts the municipality. So of course they can say yes or no, but certainly we can say, oh, it's better to classify it, so forth and so forth. I mean, I would think that is the case. And Mr. Kaloji, can you please provide your advice here?
Yeah, yesterday at about 2:14 p.m., I sent a detailed email to Councilman Caldwell-Wilson and copied others about setting salaries in the city of Trenton. And that's a statute in reference to another statute that gives certain, in certain cases, the mayor, in certain cases, the council, the absolute right to set salaries. With regard to suggestions, with regard to negotiation, I certainly don't see anything wrong with that. But, at the end of the day, I'm reading the statute in front of me. It is up to the mayor to establish within the parameters of the municipal budget the amount of salaries, wages, and other compensation to employees of the administrative departments. But it's up to the council to set the salary of each director, and apparently in reference to another statute also of the mayor. And then there's a final exception that talks about officers, for example, a city administrator, where it says that it has to be set by ordinance. In that case, it would basically be done by both. Council and the mayor would have to agree on an ordinance. But those are absolutes in terms of who has the power to ultimately decide it. I don't see any problem with trying to work it out and trying to negotiate something that both sides are fine with.
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilman Harrison.
Regarding the city salaries, I said this before, it's done between the administration and the union. Council dictates the director salaries. I said this before, and I'm glad that Mr. Kaloji collaborated again to reiterate the same thing that Ms. Caldwell-Wilson said. Thank you.
That's not what Mr. Kaloji said. And Mr. Council President, I just want to add on, if that's okay.
And we'll keep it moving.
And I would say, this is the negotiation and the suggestion that we're making here from the individual council members. It's no different than the suggestions and recommendations we make during the budget hearings on each line item and relates to salaries, reclassification of salaries and expansion of salaries and adding resources to departments. So that's all we're doing. We're not taking any powers away from the mayor, and that's not what our intention is here, and that's certainly not what my intention is. My intention is to just suggest to the administration, if it's possible and prudent, can we work within the ranges and within the framework, and that we can advantage the residents of the city and making certain that we have the right level of support and service delivery in our municipality. So if it makes sense to reclassify a particular resource or employee, or then we should do it. And it doesn't matter what side of the fence it comes on, rather it comes from the mayor side or the council side. It's a suggestion, it's a recommendation. It's to move the city forward, and it's a win-win for everybody. Thank you.
Council President.
Council President, I just want to make sure if the councilwoman is going to make recommendations, it has to be in the form of a resolution. If you do an ordinance, the ordinance will come after our recommendation if they decide to change the salaries.
Okay, agreed. All right, tomato.
Council President.
Alrighty. Yes, go right ahead.
Just have a quick question to what the subject matter. Mr. Kaloji, I think he stated that when an ordinance is done, it's done in conjunction with the administration and the legislation. Did you say that, Mr. Kaloji?
What I said was, with regard to salaries, one set of circumstances, the mayor has the power, another set, the council has the power, and then there's a third one where they basically both share the power. There would have to be an ordinance that the council would pass and the mayor would approve to set the salaries of certain officers.
That's what I thought. The ordinance,
yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Kaloji.
And not for employees.
What we're talking about
Go ahead, Ms. Wilkins.
What we're talking about is an ordinance, the one that you mentioned, Council President. The ordinance can be, like Mr. Kaloji just stated, it can be changed by the council. And the mayor would whether
That's not what he said, Councilwoman.
Councilwoman, the ordinance that I referenced was a very specific situation involving salaries. Only certain offices. It may be the city clerk. I know it's the city administrator.
Okay.
If the statute says it has to be set by ordinance, then it would have to be set by ordinance requiring both the mayor and the council. That's not the general rule under the Faulkner Act. The general rule under the Faulkner Act is the mayor establishes the administrative employee salaries and the council establishes the director and mayor's salary.
Okay, understood. All right, we were just trying to do something good for the citizens of this city. Thank you.
Mrs. Penny Carter.
Yes.
That ordinance 22, it needs to be on the docket for Thursday. I don't know why it's not here today. All right. And so the executive session is not going to be until Thursday because Mr. Hoffman has to weigh in on the items that Mr. Bridges had on the docket in reference to some type of could you move the screen up so everyone can see?
Council President.
In reference to
Council President.
Yes.
Regarding the resolution that you're proposing to bring on the docket on Thursday, I will hope
it's not a resolution, it's an ordinance, Councilwoman.
All right, so the ordinance that you're proposing to bring on, we didn't get a chance to see the changes because there were, oh my goodness. Ms. Penny, you're getting a lot of static.
Yeah, just leave it right there. I'm sorry, what are you?
I'm saying that I'm concerned. that resolution 2220 that Council President is proposing that was missed for this conference session is going to be put on a voting session. And I'm just fearful that we're not going to have an opportunity to review and make public changes.
It's an ordinance that should have been already, it's an ordinance that when it was voted upon, it was scheduled to be back on this docket as an ordinance for second reading.
I understand that.
Not a resolution.
Okay. So it's just for the dollar amount, not for the specific changes, correct? Because I thought we changed the dollar.
Yeah, it was the original ordinance that was up for second reading. There was no changes or anything done to this particular ordinance. It was just introduced for first reading 2 weeks ago, and it should have been on this docket for the second reading and public hearing for this meeting.
Okay, so maybe
the public hearing was scheduled for the 16th.
Okay, well, maybe it should be read into the record today, because I believe that number has changed considering. Council
And
President.
I can agree with reading it into the record. Can you find it, Ms. Carter?
I don't have it upstairs with me. I'm gonna have to look.
Let me, Mr.
Council President, this is Maria Richardson. May I interject?
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
No. Yes. What do you want to say, Maria?
Council President, if I understood Mr. Kaloji correctly, then there will be no need to bring that ordinance back for second reading, but the resolution that is tabled. So I don't think that we need to bring the ordinance back.
That is not correct. Changes made by this council on that ordinance. Because it was the ARPA funds. It was the ARPA funds.
Yes, but this is different. The resolution is the ARPA fund. This was just, may I? This ordinance was only increasing the salaries for seasonal laborers. There is nothing with, no. There is nothing, this ordinance doesn't have anything to do with the ARPA fund. This is a general ordinance increasing the salaries of laborers regardless of the funding source. Seasonal laborers. That was the only purpose of this ordinance. And if I understood Mr. Kaloji correctly, then there is no need for the second reading of this ordinance. The ordinance should be taken out.
Why, Maria? Explain why it should be taken out.
Because according to Mr. Kaloji, that would be the prerogative of the administration to deal with those salaries, if I understood correctly. I just want to, if Mr. Kaloji can confirm that. For me, it doesn't matter if it's if the council visits the ordinance or not, but I just want to make sure that we are understanding correctly.
Ms. Wilkins, do you have that ordinance in front of you? The 22-20?
Yes, I do.
I need to have some clarity as to why she's saying that the ordinance need to be can be removed. What was the ordinance in reference to?
It's the ordinance amending ordinance 19-37 entitled an ordinance creating seasonal positions, fixing the salary range, therefore, and setting forth certain regulations for the implementation of the same.
And so what was the change in that? What was the difference in the amount?
It was for the seasonal laborers from $13 to $17 per hour through $13 to $17 per hour. The change is $17 to $21 per hour.
Okay, but
and
what
so
is
that
the
was
dollar
and so
amount?
that and so that was the recommendation from the council.
No, that was a recommendation from the administration.
Okay.
That was not the recommendation from the council. The recommendation from the council is $23.50.
Okay, so let me ask everybody this. Okay, so the recommendation was from 13 to 17 and to 21. Is that not a compromise for everyone here? Is that not a compromise for the residents? Is that not a compromise for the council and the administration?
I agree.
I'm just asking, is that a compromise?
I'm fine with the compromise. What I'm asking, my question is.
Well, let me get something from the administration here, because I need to understand why she said pull it when that should be a compromise, a dollar amount.
That needs a vote.
Yeah, we do have to
understand that, but
yes, Council President, yes, we agreed to that compromise for the 17 to 21. That is the ordinance in place. It's our suggestion. That is our compromise.
All right, who's compromised?
Okay, so
it is compromise.
If that's the compromise, then that's the ordinance that we should be voting on Thursday. Am I correct here?
Yes, you are.
But my question is,
council members, is that a fair assessment?
No.
I believe it is.
No, because.
Okay.
Council President. Council President.
I had my hand up first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
All right, go right ahead, Councilwoman Vaughn.
I just have one question that Council Wilkins could provide clarity and further transparency on this resolution. Yes, the ranges were changed. The ordinance, I'm sorry, thank you. The rates were changed or compromised, that's fine. The material dollar amount is not material to me, but it can make a big difference in a family. And I just wanted to be clear that that does include ARPA funds. The ARPA funds is funding that margin or that difference or that delta, that change. And I just want to know what the actual dollar amount is. So it went from the administration introduced the ordinance at X amount with this salary range. I mean, with those hourly rates, and then they came and they increased some to a certain level. And we just need to know what the dollar amount is. That's all. Thank you.
And so the ordinance spells it out, but Councilwoman Wilkins, go right ahead. You have the floor.
What I was going to say is with the compromise, would the administration be willing to make the starting make the range from 21 per hour to 23.50 per hour? They would still have a range, but it would be because right now, as it goes, we're getting ready to go to minimum wage, and minimum wage is $15 an hour. You're talking about giving adults $17 an hour to start, because the range on the ordinance is what's going to set it in place. Because once we vote on this and we agree, then that's what it's going to be. They'll bring a seasonal labor in at $17 per hour if that's their prerogative. But what I'm saying is, because they're saying let's pay them $21 an hour, can we start at $21 and make it through $23.50?
Council President, if I may.
Yes, go right on.
I wasn't done, but okay.
It's my understanding the union has contracts for $21. And I was not aware that seasonal workers were on a pay range because they're only seasonal.
Yeah, they are.
So we're going to settle this tonight before we move on. Maria, can you come back to the call, please?
Yes, Council President.
Okay, so the question is that the range, Councilwoman Wilkins says that she would like the range to start at 23.
I don't think that would be possible, Council President, because the laborers, the permanent laborers, make $21 an hour. And so it will be it will create a conflict with the unions and with the permanent laborers if seasonal laborers are making more money than they are.
No, I
And
was saying
just
start
completed, we
one.
just signed a contract. I am not sure that administration and council are ready to go back to renegotiate the terms of the present contract with the union.
Okay, so $21 is the amount that the administration is willing to go. Now, let me ask you this, Maria. In that contract, in that ordinance, it says 13 to 17. So we're saying that we don't want anyone starting with $13 an hour based on the minimum wage.
Exactly. That was the previous ordinance. I'm sorry for interrupting, Council President. The previous ordinance, the one that we are amending, reads 13 to 17. So we are increasing it from 13 to 17 to 17 to 21.
Okay, all righty. So the compromise is the 17 through 21.
Correct.
All righty. So let us all be clear of what the compromise is. And Ms. Carter, you need to get that resolution. Miss Wilkins, would you do me a big favor and read that ordinance into the record?
Council President, before she does that, can I speak? I have a question.
Yeah, yes, go right ahead, Councilwoman Vaughn. And yes.
I just put the public for clarity, and I would like the business administrator to go on the record with the answer. I want the business administrator, because he sits in union negotiation. Now, seasonals are not union members. They do not pay union fees. So therefore, they are not binded by the union contract, and it does not apply to them.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna look for my ordinance.
Council President, why are you interrupting me?
I said while you're asking,
you yielded the floor to me. You should let me finish.
And you know why you're doing that? I'm gonna go look for my ordinance.
Okay, I'm saying on the record that I want the business administrator to chime in, because he participates in the union contract. He should educate the public and provide clarity that seasonal workers, summer employment, are not union members. They should not be binded by the union contract. At least maybe they should, but they're not. They don't pay union membership. They don't get health benefits. They don't get vacation time. They don't get sick time. None of that. So when you talk about compensation, you talk about total compensation. So I don't see anything wrong. I think to compare a seasonal employee who's only working, total compensation is only working minimum of 12 weeks in the summer, maximum 24 weeks, to a full-time employee who has a total compensation package of, $50,000 plus benefits, health, vacation time, and all that. So I think it's acceptable to give the seasonals who are only going to be here for a short period of time to make a total compensation earning of $7,600 at a minimum, and $20,000 perhaps if they stay on for the full 6 months or 24 weeks. So I think the salary range should be $17 to $23.50, because I remember seeing 2 employees in recreation making, one supervisor, pool supervisor, is going to be earning a $23 hourly rate, and another supervisor is going to be earning $23.50. Now, I'm sorry, but a pool supervisor making $23.50 or $23 an hour in the Parks and Recreation, Natural Resource and Culture Department versus a laborer, and they should not be making more than a gentleman or a woman who's working in the sanitation department, in the street department, in the shade tree or anything of that nature. So I think we got to get some clarity on the 2 employees that I saw in the ordinance, or the resolution, that's making $23.50, and Mr. and Mrs. Richardson department, and the other one making 23, and paying those people, those individuals, more than the laborers who work in public works.
Council President?
Can Mr. Cruz go on the record, Council President?
Yes, I asked Mr. Cruz.
He asked for Mr. Cruz, Maria. When Mr. Cruz speaks, then I'll give you the floor, but she asked for Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, Council
All right.
President.
All right. Yes, Madam President, Adam Cruz, Business Administrator. I'm going to start from the beginning just to set the where we were and where we are now. The ordinance that is being supplanted by the new ordinance, as Maria stated, it was $13 an hour. The range was from $13 to $17 an hour. The new ordinance that's in front of you today is going to be with the new rate is going to be from 17. The range is going to go from $17 to $21 an hour. So the new one is going to be from $17 to $21 an hour. The contract negotiations that we had with the unions, we increased the salary from $14 an hour to $21 an hour. So it will not be fair for us to pay seasonal employees more than what we would pay a full-time employee, regardless on how you see it. I get it. You know, you may feel that is not right because they don't have benefits, they don't have medical, they don't have that's just how it works. That's just how the system is set up. We need to keep in mind that the minimum hourly rate in the state of New Jersey into 2024, in 2024 is when the rate goes up to $15 an hour. We did that already. As I said, with the new contract negotiation, we were able to provide, we went from $14 to $21 an hour. So it is not that we're not violating any laws. We are trying to protect the full-time employees, and I am certain that if we choose, we're not choosing. The administration is not choosing to increase the salary to $23 an hour. That is not what we are proposing to this council tonight. The proposal is $17 to $21 an hour. I don't want to get tangled up in court unnecessarily with the unions simply because one or two people feel that this salary needs to go above and beyond what was negotiated with the unions in the previous months. So as it stands, it'll be 17 to 21. That is the new range, 17 to 21. It will not change.
Well, how come certain people
All right,
are getting
so
50?
this is Richardson. Can you?
Yes. Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to state regarding a previous comment by a council person that pool coordinators, for example, make $23.50 an hour, and they have 104 employees reporting to them. The summer food service coordinator has 84 employees reporting to them. Therefore, the $23.50 an hour. A laborer doesn't have anybody reporting to them. And yes, as much as I would like for the laborers, I would love for the laborers to make $25, $30 an hour, but it is not reasonable at this time.
But that goes against what the agreement is. It goes beyond the $21. It goes beyond what Mr. Cruz has just stated. The range is 17 to 21. We don't make exceptions for the pool coordinator.
Council President, if you refer to the ordinance, there are titles stated there, and the title, the only title that we are increasing the salary is the laborer.
Right. But Maria, let me ask you this question, Maria, because you know, like everybody is throwing the unions around, and the $23 for the pool coordinator is still above what the union workers are making. So why isn't it reasonable to take those two salaries down to the $21? Wouldn't that be reasonable?
Just check, if you could please check the previous ordinance you will see what are the salaries stated for those positions.
Right, I did look at the previous ordinance. I was looking at it and I did see that it was higher, but you know, the pool coordinators were higher. I have it right here in front of me, but the question that's being put to you now is that if we're going to be talking about not paying anyone more than we pay the union workers, then to me, it will be reasonable to take those salaries for those two people to $21. That would be the reasonable thing to do. I understand how you've probably did it in the past, but what I'm saying to you is the reasonable thing to do that would just make this compromise a flow very smoothly is to bring those two salaries to $21. That's my recommendation to you. You don't have to take it, but I'm just recommending that at this point because I believe that that would make this compromise flow very smoothly. You go ahead, Maria.
No, I just wanted to say that those are different titles, right? Laborers and the coordinators, they are contemplated in both ordinances as different titles. I am not sure that I would be able to hire anybody for $21 to supervise 100 people. Yes, it is laughable.
It is laughable.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
what the administrator just laid out for the city.
Excuse me, Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yeah.
So this is what we were supposed to be doing. We were supposed to be just talking this out, you know, coming to the table and trying to work through it. So, you know,
President.
my suggestion to you was that the $23 for the two employees should have been $21 in order to be a smooth compromise. That was my suggestion. As Mr. Kaloji stated earlier, you don't really have to accept our suggestion, but that is my suggestion in order to make everything to give this a unanimous vote. I would hope that you would like to do that. Mm-hmm. All righty. So yes, go ahead, Ms. Wilkins.
I just want to say one more thing. I heard what Mr. Cruz said, and I heard what Director Richardson said. With regards to the laborers working side by side, it wouldn't be fair to what they were saying to the regular employees. But I also hear the seasonal employees in past times, and that it's not fair for them to be doing the exact same job that the laborers do and to make less than the laborers. So a suggestion is, being that they're saying that the laborers make $21 an hour starting, can we make it $21 an hour and pull the range into $23.50 as you know, as they come back annually? But can we make it $21 so that those that are working side by side as laborers, whether in shade tree, whether in streets, whether in sanitation, is it possible that we can negotiate that, making it $21 to $23.50? Because they are, I heard them say it, they're working side by side with the same men and women doing the same job. But with the seasonal, they do not get a compensation plan, because they are seasonal. But at least with the laborers, because most laborers have been with the city for quite some time, there are some new ones. But, you know, I would think that if we're going to have people working together doing the exact same job, can they at least start with the exact same rate? That's just my suggestion, 21 to 23.50 with the range that they're proposing.
All righty. Thank you. So they already rejected the 23.50, Ms. Wilkins. So we were stuck with the 20.
Yeah, I was speaking of the range, Council President, because they currently have a range now. I was just stating about the range. That's all. Not necessarily saying, you know.
Start them off with 23. All right.
Well,
so So,
She's saying start them off at 21.
yes, start them off with 21. Yes, definitely. So is that where we are, Maria? We're going to start them off, start those sanitation workers off with 21? Is that what
Council
we're doing,
President?
Maria?
Council President, if you don't mind, I would like to ask Paul Harris, who prepared the budget for another resolution, if he included the salaries for $21 an hour.
Okay, go right ahead.
That is correct. Solid waste laborers are at $21 an hour.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Council
Welcome.
President.
Council President? Council President? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Yes,
Yeah, I just want to say quickly, and I just want to add for the record and for the education of the public, is that there are different pools of money that's being applied here. And the 70 individuals are going to be hired and be funded, seasonal employees are going to be funded by the ARPA program. And the ARPA program has great flexibility, and Mr. Cruz and Mr. Kaloji can speak on that. So we have flexibility, and it's not restricted by the union rules. So, and also a portion of the seasonal employees will be funded by the budget and also other grant monies. Other grant monies have restrictions. The budget certainly have restrictions around the union and civil service or whatever, but the ARPA funds, we have liberties, we have flexibility. And considering the families that are going to be employed here, we should want to, if we can, give a little extra money. The city of Trenton, we have one of the highest unemployment rates in the county and in the state. And the ARPA funds are here to provide relief to those families. So to start applying restrictions to the ARPA funds around union and all that, that's not what the ARPA funds were sent here for, and certainly those rules don't apply. So if we wanted to pay those whole families $7,500, if we wanted to give them, all $10,000, we could do that. So I just want the council to know that we're not restricted by no $23.50. We can pay them with those ARPA funds anything we want to. If we're going to infuse and lift up those families who have been disproportionately impacted, who have faced long-term unemployment, and it's just a crying shame that people here are nickel and diming these families who are in need of this money. I'm not talking about the budget, the employees and seasonals that are being funded by the budget or the funds grants. I'm talking about the ARPA funds, the 70 resources that have been identified. We don't have to be restricted by a range, Council President. We can pay those 70 individuals anything we want. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilwoman Wilkins, would you please I want to read the ordinance into the record, please, Councilwoman Wilkins. I've tried to find it.
Okay, I have it. I have it. You want me to read it into the record?
Yes, please. Ms. Penny Carter doesn't have it. This will be on the docket for second reading and public hearing on Thursday before we go to vote. Thank you.
Okay, you want me to read it now, Council President?
Yes, please.
Ordinance amending ordinance 19-37 entitled an ordinance creating seasonal positions, fixing the salary range, therefore, and setting forth certain regulations for the implementation of the same. Whereas the City Council of the City of Trenton adopted ordinance 19-37 entitled an ordinance creating seasonal positions, fixing the salary range, therefore, and setting forth certain regulations for the implementation of the same on May 16, 2019. And whereas the City of Trenton needs to update the salary range for seasonal laborers, Therefore, the City Council of the City of Trenton does ordain as follows. 1, that from and after the effective dates herein, the schedule below showing the salary range for seasonal laborer or recognized as duly created and existing in the City of Trenton. 2, the salary range shall not exceed the maximum starting rate for permanent laborers. Title seasonal laborer, 17 per hour, salary range 17 per hour to 21 per hour. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkins. I appreciate that. And Ms. Penny Carter, if you would please add this to the docket for Thursday, because it has been advertised for a public hearing for Thursday.
But Council President,
it will be.
No. All right, we're going to move on, Councilwoman Vaughn. Ms.
Of course we are.
Penny Carter.
I don't understand how 2350 is an exception and it's not in the ordinance. In the ordinance, it should say 2350 is an exception for the 2 pool people.
Councilwoman, we're moving
Council
on.
President, that should read.
Go right ahead, Ms. Penny Carter.
That should be in the ordinance, that 2 people are getting exception and getting a rate of 2350. Why is not that in the ordinance? That should be in the ordinance. The 2350, everyone, the range is $17 to $21 with the exception of the 2 pool people who are getting 2350. You have to put that in the ordinance.
Well, we could amend it on the floor for the exception and put it and make that amendment on the floor.
Council President.
Yes,
President.
Yes, Miss Richardson.
I just want to clarify that those 2 positions are not laborers' position. They are program coordinators, and they are included in the previous ordinance, in the ordinance that we are amending. They are not laborers. We are not eliminating the previous ordinance. As the title of this ordinance reads, we are incorporating amendments to the previous ordinance. They are not laborers.
Wait a minute. There's some type of device. Yes, thank you.
Whether or not it's in the previous ordinance or not, the rate, the range is 17 through 2350, period. That's what the range is, $17 to 2350. That's what the range is.
Laborers, it doesn't change the other positions included in the
Council
ordinance.
President, the range is 17 to 2350.
But if it's an amendment, the other ordinance, the wording in the other ordinance doesn't go away. The previous ordinance that we are amending is still in effect. Am I correct, Mr. Kaloji? Mr. Kaloji.
But what I'm saying is, Council President, you are all right. That's fine. All I'm saying to you is the range should include the 2350. That's all. It is $17 to 2350. Period.
No, they're not accepting that. They're accepting the ordinance that says 17 to 21, and the 2.
No. But what I'm saying to you is
the two pool coordinators are on the previous ordinance as such.
All right, but there's one ordinance. At the end of the day, there's one ordinance. So the first ordinance. Right, in the pool. So now we're amending it. The range is now 17 to 2350, inclusive of the pool, that's all. That's the way it should read, because that is correct. That is correct. Wow. It is incorrect to let it read the range for the City of Trenton seasonal is 17 to 21, because where is that? It should read,
Council President,
17 to 2350. You have some people in the program, regardless of where they sit, labor or non-labor, getting a rate of 2350.
No, but that should only be. That 23 should only apply for those 2 positions.
I know exactly, but the range, but they are in that range. That's the new range. To not include the 2350, to not state the ordinance, that's an
Council
exception.
President.
They're not exceptions. They're part of the ordinance. I mean, am I like the only person who understands that?
Council President, is it possible we can just add that to the ordinance?
No. It's the ordinance. Let me pull the ordinance up.
We're
The
amending
ordinance
the
is
ordinance.
for itself. The
Ordinance no
previous
longer
ordinance.
exists.
It does exist.
It
We're only
does.
amending it.
We are
We're
amending the previous ordinance. We are amending the previous ordinance.
So the range so the 2350 is still part of the amendment.
For the coordinator, yes, but not for
I
the
understand that.
seasonal position laborer.
Still 2350, 17 across the board, 1750.
Not across the board.
Okay, it's not across the board.
No,
It's not
because
across
the pool
the board, Robin.
coordinators
It's
are
only
up
for
to
the
23.
So what is the so maybe I need to understand. So Councilwoman Wilkins, can you tell us what the range is across the board? So $17.
So first you have to look at the original ordinance.
The original ordinance, what happens is the original ordinance shows the various positions. I'm sorry, Council President, I can speak.
No, I'm asking, what is the range?
The original ordinance shows the different positions, and the different positions have the ranges. What they did with this particular ordinance is that they amended the original ordinance to make it inclusive, to give the laborers an increase. I believe that the original positions for the pools are already set at the 2350, which was done back in 2019. I believe 2019.
Yes.
So now this one is being amended to give the laborers more, because originally the laborers were their rate was less in 2019. So in 2022,
theirs was 17.
they're trying to increase it.
Okay,
Correct.
Theirs was 17.
So my question is, what is the minimum now, consideration of all of the above? What is the minimum rate the city of Trenton is offering its seasonal? Minimum now is what? 17,
well, the rates are different based on the position.
But what is the
minimum
that we're paying?
at
What
the
is
base?
the lowest? Yeah,
Oh,
what is the
okay.
lowest we're paying?
I see what you're saying.
$13 an hour.
What is the lowest are we paying, and what is
the
the highest
minimum-
we're paying?
The minimum wage per the state of New Jersey is $13 an hour as of January 1st, 2022. It will be 14 next year and 15 the following year.
So what is the minimum and maximum, Mr. Harris? The minimum and maximum.
Ordinance 19-37, there are 26 positions. Each position has a unique range based on the expectations for that position.
I understand.
No, what I'm saying is it's hard to answer. Some go from 13 to 17.
I understand what she's saying. I understand what she's saying. She's saying, what is the lowest, what is the minimum salary on, it doesn't matter what the position is, what is the minimum amount? And then regardless of the position, what is the highest dollar amount in the range, within the range on any position? So is the minimum $13? Or is it 15?
The minimum is 10, the highest is 26.
There you go. That's what
the $10 positions are no. The $10 hour positions are not used.
That's illegal.
Exactly.
Oh my God, I can't, Council President, I can't. $10.
Council President.
Council President, it sounds like they need to amend the entire resolution, not just to bring this piece on.
Right. Well, right now we're at this piece, and we can go back and amend it.
The minimum. All right, Council President, the minimum should be the minimum wage, as Paul Harris just described. It should be what the state minimum is. 10. They should just not even. It should be scrapped.
13.
It should be 13.
Mr. Let me ask this question to Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris, are you literally paying people that come to work for the city of Trenton $10?
No. So let me explain. There are 26 positions. All of these positions, just the same way as all the positions in the budget aren't filled, they're not filled. The pool support staff, the range was set in 2019. The range is 10 to 15. So if we were to hire someone in that title or the other titles, it would be above the existing minimum wage. The range is just that. It's a range. It's an administrative function, and the administration can decide anything be in that range, as long as it's within the parameters of the law.
About whether it's an administrative function, Mr. Harris. I'm asking you, are you bringing people on in the city of Trenton and paying them $10? That's the question that I'm asking.
We have not been, and we are not.
So let me ask you this other question that I had asked much earlier. I asked if inside that ordinance was a mechanism that you would bring back to this council the invoices at the end of the, bring back the check registry at the end of the season. Is that in there? Is that in there, or do I need to raise a resolution for that?
That request is part of the resolution. This is an ordinance. That was a part of the resolution, the ARPA resolution.
Okay, so it's in the resolution that you will bring back the check registry for the payment of all summer employees?
In the resolution, assuming it passes, that was in the resolution. Correct.
Okay, because that's important to me, because when you go on record and you tell me that there's no one being paid $10 an hour, that check registry at the end of this season will proof that out. And so that is why it's important to me that that mechanism is in place. So
Okay,
it's
so
in the resolution.
Council President,
So can we
Council
take this as an opportunity to just clean up
Ridiculous.
the ordinance? And just since we no longer, the marketplace have moved on, the laws has changed, let's say the city of Trenton, the minimum hourly rate starts at whatever the law is. What is it, $13.50, $13? Mr. Harris?
The minimum is 13, correct, as of 2022,
So the state of
January
New
1st.
Jersey, so we should not even be discussing anything less. And we should take the opportunity to update the ordinance now. We all agree the state law of our great state of New Jersey, the minimum wage for the city of Trenton that we pay all our employees is $13. And the maximum under this program is $26. That period.
So Mr. Kaloji?
Council President, can I speak? Can I get my chance to speak here?
Yes,
This is
will.
you guys
So
are
I get
rambling
Mr.
on
Kaloji.
here.
Yes, Mr. Kaloji. Edward Kaloji.
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I've been calling you forever. So let me just ask you one question in reference to this ordinance. So we're bringing on an ordinance, and the ordinance is has already been advertised. We want to put some language in there to state that the city of Trenton should only pay the state minimum wage. Is that a drastic change in that ordinance?
I was just gonna quote you the law. The question becomes, is it considered a significant material change? If it is, the amendment would be done on Thursday evening, and then it would not be able to have a public hearing until the next meeting. But I would have to review the entire ordinance in its totality to see the relationship of the changes versus what was there originally, and then we'll make a call on it.
All righty. Well, we need to do that, because as of now, we can only vote as it is. So if you tell us that that is not if that's not a significant change. No. I'm going to yield the floor. I'm going to yield the floor to Mr. Harris. He's been waiting to be heard. Go ahead, Mr. Harris.
Just so we're crystal clear, the existing ordinance already says that.
Okay.
It says the minimum wage.
Excuse me, Mr. Harris. I apologize. I'm talking to Councilman Harrison.
Right. The old salaries were from 13. Council President, the old salaries were from 13 to 17. The new salaries are from 17 to 21. That's what was stated. It was stated by Maria Richardson, stated by Adam Cruz. Ms. Caldwell Wilson stated this. I'm not sure why we're thinking we don't have the authority. We can recommend it, but we don't have the authority to change people's salary unless it's a director. Say it again, director. These are not directors, they're seasonal. Correct. It's been said over and over and over again. We're going around in circles. It's going from 13 to 7, between the salary 13 to 17 an hour to $17 to $21 an hour. There you go. That's what Maria Richardson, director, stated. Correct? Maria, Director Richardson, is that what you stated, Maria? Council President, can I get Maria Richardson to elaborate on this?
Yes.
Thank
That's
you.
the only way
Maria Richardson, could you elaborate on that?
Yes, for this position, it's 17 to 21, and for the suggestion from council president to include amendments to mention that the city should pay the minimum salary. The minimum should be the minimum legal salary. It is stated in the ordinance that was approved in 2019.
It's
So
stated
if
in the ordinance.
the rent in certain positions state less than that, we are legally bounded to pay the minimum salary stated by the state of New Jersey.
All righty. Could you please make sure that you circulate the ordinance that we're amending, please? And
We'll do that tomorrow, Council President.
all righty. Thank you. So we're going to move on. Ms. Penny Carter, we may continue. You may continue.
Okay, we're now under resolutions. Under the City Council 22-243, a resolution prioritizing public comment at Trenton City Council meetings to residents, taxpayers, property owners, and business owners of the city, subject to certain exceptions, such as, for example, ratepayers of the Trenton Water Works on matters limited to water and sewer issues, and allowing any other individual to provide public comment at the discretion of the council president.
All right. Councilwoman Vaughn, do you want to elaborate on this? Or
Yeah, I know that there has been a lot of discussion about this particular resolution, but we know how long the council meetings can go on. We understand that every municipality in New Jersey operates under the principle of home rule. We have our own government. We elect our own mayor. We elect our own council. And we have, of course, the funding of that municipality. The major stakeholders are the residents and taxpayers of the city. And this meeting that we have here is dedicated to discuss the business of the city of Trenton and the impact to its residents, its taxpayers, and its stakeholders, property owners, business owners, and the ratepayers of our utility, our water and sewer department. So we have to prioritize those entities. And we will accommodate the law, the federal law that's in place in the 11th Circuit permits. It's not unconstitutional. I'll let Mr. Kaloji to elaborate on that for the education of the residents and citizens of the city of Trenton and beyond, that the city of Trenton is operating in compliance with our state, local, federal laws, and that we want to ensure that that Trentonians, the resident taxpayers, get the most out of their meeting. This is their meeting. We are elected by them to do their business, and they have the right under our Constitution, under the laws of the land, to speak first, be above and beyond all others. And that's all what the resolution says. And I hope that, Mr. Kaloji, do you want to elaborate?
Council President, do I have the floor?
yes, go right ahead, Mr. Kaloji.
Yes. We took a good hard look at this. My initial reaction was somewhat skepticism, but when I really got into it, number one, the Open Public Meetings Act only references public comment. We have to set aside a portion of every meeting for public comment, but it doesn't elaborate on that definitionally. And there's no case law in New Jersey that addresses it. There's no express provision in OPMA that prohibits what we're trying to do. In fact, there's language in there that essentially says nothing in this act shall be construed to limit the discretion of a public body to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public. Second, as Ms. Vaughn indicated, there is a published Court of Appeals decision from the 11th Circuit that basically upholds the identical premise. City Council imposed a rule that only residents and taxpayers could speak, and it was upheld in a First Amendment challenge was rejected. Although that's not binding on the Third Circuit in which Trenton is situated, it's certainly persuasive. Number three, there are several other statutes, 40:49-2 regarding the adoption of ordinances, references residents, and 40A4-9C addressing bond ordinances talks about taxpayers and persons who have an interest. So there are other statutes of limitation. And fourth, we're really excluding no one. It's really one of priority, not one of limitation or exclusion, because we're including residents, we're including taxpayers. So even if you don't live in Trenton, but you own property here and you pay taxes, you'll be heard. We're including business owners, which means you don't have to be a resident or a taxpayer, but if you own a business here, you'll be heard. Ratepayers of the Trenton Waterworks, anyone with a particularized interest. In other words, anyone who can get up and say that they have a very specific reason and an issue why they want to speak. And then we left open a catch-all that says anyone in the council president's discretion that doesn't fall into any of those other categories. So this is extremely broad, and from what I could see, it really, on its face, does not exclude anyone. It was meant to prioritize in terms of available time at meetings, et cetera. And although I could never give you an absolute guarantee that if something were challenged, it would not raise an issue with some judge somewhere, I think overall our assessment of this is positive. And I've also found out that at least one other major Faulkner Act municipality in New Jersey has done the same thing for many years and has never had a problem. So based on the totality of all that, I believe that the ordinance, that the resolution would withstand a challenge.
Thank you, Mr. Kaloji.
Council President.
Yes, go right
Council
ahead.
President.
Yes, go right ahead.
First of all, Council President, regarding public comment, we've been reducing public comment from 10 minutes down to 3 minutes. It's not the public comment that's taking the meeting so long. We're going to midnight because my colleagues here are rambling on and on and on and on. So at the end of the day, I don't think the public should be, there should be a reduction in time for the public, or to give you the ability to just say, this person can speak and that one can't speak. I think anybody in the public should be able to speak. We reduced it from 10 minutes to 5 minutes. That's because our meetings are taking forever. The public is getting the shaft here. Again, the shaft by this council. We should allow the public to speak on anything they want to speak on. They have a right. So for us to say that we're gonna limit them and we're gonna create that they're the problem. No, the problem is this council. The meetings are dragging on to midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, because it goes around and around in circles. Prime example is the summer. We just were talking about that. That rambled on for I don't know how long. Now it's what, 7:30? So all this time, we're just going around in circles. We're wasting the public's time. They should be able to speak. Why are we doing this? This makes no sense at all. You don't limit the public. You let the public speak. Because at the end of the day, if the public doesn't vote, then we don't get to sit in these seats. That's the bottom line. The public is the one that should be able to speak, and we want to limit them. That's an embarrassment. This is a total embarrassment. So if any of you want to vote for this, it is what it is. It's an embarrassment. The public, whoever it is, has a right to speak. They have a right to speak their mind, and in every meeting, they should be able to speak their mind. And I think this is another one of these instances where we talk about a discretion of the council president. Look, the discretion is the public. The public, unless they're saying something foul or cursing, then it should be a discretion. But besides that, they should be allowed to speak on any issue that they deem that's important to themselves. Thank you very much.
Again, it said for the taxpayers, the property owners, the residents, and the businesses. And that is the public and anyone that has interest for our ratepayers over at the water department. And that rambling on was trying to have a dialogue with the administration in reference to our summer employees, our seasonals. So because you don't feel the need to ask questions and try to iron things out, doesn't mean the rest of us don't have the ability
Council
or
President,
the need to
I
ask
did.
questions and iron things out. So that's not rambling. That is what you call dialogue, and that is what we're here for. We're here to make decisions, and we try to get the best information possible. But if you
But
feel
Council
as though
President, if Mr.
that's
But Council President,
rambling on,
you're doing
then
again, like,
that's
it's not rambling on. You've
too
done
bad.
this again.
Excuse me.
You're making it seem that you understand and you were told.
I'm speaking, Mr. Harrison.
Okay, I understand.
When you had your opportunity to speak, I didn't interject, and you won't interject when I'm speaking. That's what you call
Okay, so I'll wait till you're
mutual
done and I'll
respect.
talk.
No, you won't.
Right.
Because I'm not yielding the floor to you.
Council President, could I just close in my remarks about the resolution?
You know,
There you go. Let it ramble on.
We're going to
I just
move
want to
on,
say, Council President, I just
we're
want to
going to
say.
move on, Councilwoman Vaughn. Is there, if anybody else wants to speak to 22-243? If not, Ms. Penny Carter, move on to the next resolution.
Is this going to be roll call or consent?
It's roll call.
Roll call. Roll call.
Okay. 22-242 is a resolution accepting a bid and awarding a contract to Verizon Inc. for non-voice over Internet Protocol telephone service through Centrex Lite service for a period of 1 year from September 10, 2022 to September 9, 2023 in an amount not to exceed $258,000 under bid 2022-30.
All righty. If I don't see any hands to discuss
Council
anything.
President,
Go right.
yeah,
Go right
I
ahead.
would just say, this can, in my opinion, can go consent agenda. I just want to say this is an example to me that, considering the stress that the city of Trenton is under, with 5 subpoenas, lawsuits by former directors in the mayor's cabinet, and the city having and the council having passed a resolution of 0 confidence in the mayor. This is an example of lights on, that telephone service to the city. I think this is the type of thing that this council should be considering. Until now, until the authorities had determined the complete its investigation across the board in the city of Trenton. Lights on, and having the contract funded telephones by Verizon is a necessary expense for the city.
All right, thank you. Ms. Carter?
Yes.
That could be part of the consent agenda, and you may move on to the next item. The next item is an automatic roll call because it's about appropriations, but you can read it into the record.
22-244, resolution authorizing a contract extension to WB Mason Company Incorporated for the furnishing and delivery of office supplies, FOB, and recycled copy paper for various departments and divisions in the city of Trenton for an additional 1 year from May 7th, 2022 to May 6th, 2023, awarded through New Jersey State Contract T-0020888839 in an amount not to exceed $330,220.
That's automatic roll call.
Okay, and then we have resolution 22-259. I'm not sure everyone received it. It's a resolution.
Wait a minute, hold up. What happened at 245 and 246?
She read 240.
I'm sorry, that was stuck in the wrong place. It should be after 246.
Wait a minute, you read 245?
Yeah, she read 245,
no, I have not.
But she didn't.
No, she did not.
She didn't read 244.
244.
Yeah, I did 244, and that number was stuck in the wrong place. The 22-245 is a resolution authorizing emergency appropriations to the CY 2022 temporary utility budgets in the city of Trenton.
How much is
Okay,
that?
but we have to go back and declare 22-244 part of the consent agenda.
Oh, I thought you said roll call.
No, you
Council
said,
President?
you said 245, and my 245 was the appropriations. And so I didn't, okay, go ahead. But 22-244 should be a part of the consent agenda.
Council President?
Okay.
Council
Go right
President?
ahead. Go right ahead, Ms. Wilkins.
With regards to 22-244, the dates need, if you're gonna make them a part of the consent agenda, the dates need to be changed to June. We're in June, we're June 14th. This is May 7th, 2022. The dates need to be adjusted to where we
Mr.
currently
Cruz?
are.
Madam President, yeah, that should not be a problem. We can either amend it on the record or we can provide you a new document tomorrow.
Yes, that'll be
Yes.
fine for Thursday, and make it for Thursday's date.
Okay, that's perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 22-245 is a resolution authorizing emergency appropriations to the CY 2022 temporary utilities budget of the city of Trenton.
That's
Council
automatic.
President?
That's an automatic roll call. Go ahead, Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yes, but it doesn't even say how much money. Come on now, you got to tell the residents how much appropriations are we given, and why it's not even written there. There's no transparency. How much is this for? We got 70 some odd people on the call here. So how much is it? Read that into the record, Ms. Carter.
Okay, you have to give me a minute to pull the resolution out.
And can we amend this to include the amount, please, Council President?
Yes. Ms. Penny Carter, do you have the resolution?
Yes, I just want to make sure I have the right number.
22-245.
Right. Subtotal for the water utility operating is $15,585,579.82. For the sewer utility operating subtotal is $2,715,210.59.
So that's total of
Excuse me, I'm not finished.
Okay.
Parking utility operating subtotal is $710,672.23 for a grand total of $19,011,462.64.
Okay.
And so the 19,000. I mean, the
19 million.
19,011,000 should have been in the title.
Yes, we agreed to that too. The last meeting, Council President, Mr. Cruz had agreed to that. Because when it goes to the public isn't given, I'm sorry, Council President, the public isn't given the detailed information, and it should always be in the title.
So 22-245 is 19.11 million. I mean 19.011 million. No secret. There's no secrets around in the city of Trenton.
Fuck you, asshole. Right there,
secrets.
No. Who is that?
Who is that?
That's Mr. Zelensky. And Mr. Zelensky, you need to be respectful.
Let's see what the FBI has to say about that.
Okay, we're not going to do that. We're going to go ahead to 222-246, and remember 22-245 is roll call. Ms. Carter.
Yes, I have that circled. 22-246 is a resolution authorizing emergency appropriations to the CY 2022 temporary budgets in the city of Trenton current fund.
Council President.
So you want to
you
go
want
ahead
the amount?
Yes.
Yes.
The same.
Okay, wait a minute. Get to that page. $46,970,773.32.
Can we just have a total there of emergency appropriations
That's
on the record?
That's the total I gave you. Was the
That's
46.9 million. Do you want that also in the title?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It's $46,970,773.
Now, is this going to be roll call?
Yes, it has to be. It's
So in
appropriation.
total,
Okay.
Council President,
Mhm,
do
go
I?
right ahead.
So in total, between Resolution 2, which I don't understand why it's broken out, but between the Resolution 2, 245, and 2246, the emergency appropriation that the administration is asking for, in lieu of not having a budget, an approved budget for our municipality, is 46 million. I'm sorry, 65.9 million. Is that correct, Mr. Zelinski?
This is business administrator. That is correct.
Business administrator,
That is correct.
$65 million.
Yes.
Mhm.
So if
and
you looked at
again,
our if you looked at our budget is 200 and over
but
230 million.
But we have
So-
given you an emergency appropriation already, and
Right.
we given. And I mean, thank you. You answered my question.
So we do it in quarters, Councilwoman. We do it
Okay,
in quarters,
but
and now
again,
we
but we do it only in quarters because we are statutorily not in compliance. We get emergency appropriation at the top of the year, first quarter, because we have a deadline, a statutory deadline, every municipality, to approve their budget. And we have not done that, and we're halfway through the calendar year. So this is, we're in serious violation, and I don't understand where the state DCA is, and considering, again, the status of our government, it would be not prudent to, lights on, no more money for our mayor, who we have who I voted zero confidence in. I won't be voting for this, 65 million. We got to approve the budget, and to give him a blank check, it will be irresponsible, and I'm not willing to do that. And they're automatically roll call. Thank you, Council President.
Madam President.
Council President.
Yes, Councilman Harrison, go ahead.
Correct. Well, when are you planning on starting the budget hearings back up again?
Ms. Carter can speak to that.
John, the administration is in the process of working out the schedule that I can then give to council as to when the directors can appear for their budget review.
Madam President.
So I just want to say this. You know, like I'm looking at this these appropriations, and on here you have miscellaneous operating expenses, $406,000. I mean, why are we having any miscellaneous operating expenses without a budget? I mean, and then it's just a lot. It's a lot. Miscellaneous salary and wages. Who's miscellaneous salary and wages? Because the mayor got $184,000. Your administration, you got $179,000. So, what miscellaneous salary and wages?
It's Madam President. It's not miscellaneous. That's actually IT. IT salaries and wages and IT operating expenses.
It doesn't
Information.
say IT. It says MIS.
Information
operating
systems, Madam President.
Okay. All righty. Excuse me.
It's okay. And one of the things I like to remind the council is that comes July 1st, we come into the third quarter of the year. I believe our next council meeting is July 6th or 7th, if I'm not, I believe it's the 6th. We don't have a meeting before July 1st, which means a lot of these line items are not going to have funding come July 1st. This is actually for as authorized by law. The city can fund the department on a quarterly basis, which is what we normally do. In December, we do an emergency appropriation for the January 1st, and we do 26.5%. But from there on, we do 25%, 25% until the budget is adopted. Since the budget is not adopted, we have to continue operations unless the city, is going to get shut down come July 1st. Because I don't know that there is a plan for the budget to be adopted by then. One thing that this council needs to remember is once the mayor introduces his budget to council, it is no longer the administration hasn't adopted a budget. It's the council that has not adopted a budget, not the administration. So not having a clerk played a role in that, and suspending the meetings also played another role. So our budget was actually submitted, introduced on a timely basis in accordance to DCA. Whether you agree or not, you can look it up, and it was actually introduced on time, even without having a clerk or having a council meeting for the month of March. So we need these fundings to continue in order for us to continue paying salaries, so that people can continue feeding their families.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Go right ahead, Ms. Carter. That will be a roll call.
Okay.
And we can go right on to 22-259.
Council President, how many votes does that require? Is that supermajority vote or majority?
It's a supermajority, I believe.
Requires 5 votes.
22-246, Ms. Carter.
That's the one I just did. The next one is.
Oh, no, I apologize.
22-259. It's a resolution appointing members to the Cannabis Advisory Committee, in parens CAC, pursuant to sections 146-20 of Ordinance 22-13, and in parens cannabis.
Council President?
Yes, go ahead, Councilwoman. How many people are we appointing? It's 4.
4, so we have 4 and 2 seats. Is it 2 seats of the mayor and 2 seats for the council?
Yes, it is, and there's 2 extra seats. I believe there's 2 more seats to be filled.
3, I think, 7 members. It's a 7-member board, right?
That's correct.
A 7-member board. Can we speak on who the individuals are being nominated?
Yes, you can have your discussion this evening because Thursday is just a vote.
Yeah, so Mr. Bridges, we submitted resumes. Can you share with the public who those highly recommended individuals are?
All 4 of them.
All 4 of them, yes.
Quite candidly, you shared their resumes with me. Those resumes will be attached as part of the presentation. Being that you recommended them, I think you're probably a better person to speak on their abilities.
No, that's not the way it works, Council President, right? So either Mr. Bridges, all right, so Ms. Penny, can you speak on the ordinances, please? I mean, on the individuals who were presented to the city?
Do you have the resolution in front of you, Ms. Carter?
Yes, I do.
To serve municipality.
But I don't have resumes for the people. Number 1 is Mr. Quentin Jones. He's for a 2-year term beginning June 16th, 2022 to June 16th, 2022 to June 15th, 2024. Mr. Joel Smith, for 1 year beginning June 16th, 2022 to June 15th, 2023. Ms. Tish Lee for a 5-year term beginning June 16th, 2022 to June 15th, 2027. And a Mr. Darren Green for a 5-year term beginning June 16th, 2022 to June 15th, 2027.
And I just want to add to that,
Why
Mr.
is
Joel Smith, Mr. Joel Smith, what is the council, the CAC, the Cannabis Advisory Committee, the 7-member board, the Legislative Council of the City of Trenton appoints 5 of those seats, and the mayor appoints 2. So there are now 4. We have 3 outstanding remaining, and I hope anyone who's listening consider serving. You can submit your resumes to the city clerk. And Council President, you always do this. Can you just wait till I finish? So we can submit those resumes to the city clerk. And I just want to say, Law Director Bridges mentioned that there were 2 resumes submitted by the council, Mr. Joel Smith and Mr. Quentin Jones. And I'm certain that many people in the city, across the city, know these 2 gentlemen, and they have. I know Councilwoman Wilkins is very familiar with Joel Smith. He attended Rutgers University with us. Actually, he attended Pennington Prep in high school. His father was a longtime principal, a longtime educator, Mr. Smith, and we are just so excited and thankful for their service and contribution those 2 individuals will make. I know Mr. Jones. Most folks see him. A lot of his artwork. He's an artist, a local artist. A lot of his art is on display at the Big Easy. And again, we look forward to their service on the newly formed Cannabis Advisory Committee. Thank you, Council President.
Councilwoman Vaughn, I was going to ask you if you could explain to the public why there's 2 seats for 5 years, 1 seat for 2, and 1 for a year.
No, they're all going to serve, if they're staggered terms. That's just to initiate the staggered terms. They all serve the same amount of time. But they're going to, the 1 year, Joel will be reappointed just to initiate the staggered terms.
Thank you. You may continue, Ms. Carter.
Under the Department of Fire and Emergency Services, Resolution 22-247, resolution authorizing a contract to Galls LLC for proprietary purchase of uniforms, cleaning, and repair services on an as-needed basis for the Department of Fire and Emergency Services, awarded through New Jersey State Contract Number T-004620-Food-00904 in an amount not to exceed $65,000 from June 3, 2022 to December 31st, 2022.
Ms. Carter, 22-259 is consent, part of the consent.
Okay.
Do anyone have any questions on 22-247 for the uniforms, cleaning and repair services on an as-needed basis for the fire department? You could put that as part
Council President?
Yes.
I will just say quickly, of course, it should go to consent agenda. I just deem this one as well as a lights on, just minimum taking care and taking care and funding the necessities of the city of Trenton.
All right, Ms. Penny Carter, you may continue. That's part of the consent. 22-248.
It's a resolution authorizing a contract to Interline doing a DBA Supply Works for the purchase of proprietary janitorial supplies on an as-needed basis for all fire stations from June 3, 2022 to December 31st, 2022, awarded through Educational Services Commission of New Jersey, number ESCNJ 21-22-18 in an amount not to exceed $55,076.88. Okay.
Council President?
Yes.
I would just say to this one as well, that we, consent agenda, I mean, I don't have any questions, but this is an example of a lights on expenditure.
All right, Mrs. Carter,
Yes.
that could be a part of the consent agenda.
Okay. 22-249 is a resolution authorizing a contract to service Tire Truck Center, Inc. for the furnish and delivery of repetitive proprietary tires, parts, and materials on an as-needed basis for multiple apparatus and vehicles throughout various fire stations, awarded through New Jersey State Contract Number M80000 20-Fleet-00948 from June 3, 2022 to December 31st, 2022 in an amount not to exceed $49,989.35.
That could be a part.
Yep.
That could be a part of the consent agenda.
Mhm.
Okay, in the Department of Police, 22-250, a resolution awarding a contract through a fair and open process in accordance with NJSA 19:44A-20.4 et sec. to Recovery Advocates of America to provide opioid and overdose mapping response team services for a period of 1 year from May 2nd, 2022 to May 5th, 2023 in an amount not to exceed $240,649.12 under RFP number 2022-4.
That could be a part of the consent agenda.
22
Council President, I was trying to unmute for the one for police, 22-250. Can they change the dates so that they reflect Thursday, June 16th? Because they have it as May, as a month ago.
Mr. Wilson can send it over changed for us to Ms. Penny Carter tomorrow. Mr. Wilson, can you?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you get the date changed and submit it back over to Ms. Carter tomorrow so she'll have it before Thursday?
Yes,
Thank you so much.
will do. Thank you.
22-251, resolution exercising the option to extend the contract to Exxon Enterprise, Inc. for the purchase of annual maintenance for body-worn cameras and investigative portal to be utilized by the Criminal Investigation Bureau, awarded through New Jersey State Contract Number T-0106 17-Fleet-00738 for an additional 1 year from May 20th, 2022 to May 13th, 2023 in an amount not to exceed $244,020 per year. Didn't make sense, but okay.
Council President, that can be consent agenda also, but the dates would have to be reflective of the current.
We'll take care of it.
Thank you.
You may continue, Ms. Carter.
Resolution 22-252, a resolution authorizing a contract to Lawman Supply Company of New Jersey for the purchase of ammunition for range qualifications for police officers awarded through New Jersey State Contract Number 17-Fleet-00740 in an amount not to exceed $70,000.
So, Miss Carter, I just wanted to go back to the appropriations 22-246, just for housekeeping. It's just a housekeeping. So when they gave us the breakdown for 22-246, every entire line here had the actual is the actual title written out: mayor salary and wages, city council salary and wages, the city clerk's Oprah, the election, administration salary and wages, the administration operating expenses. But when it got down to the IT department and it had the MIS, why was that abbreviated instead of spelled out? Because in most of the things, the MIS was always for miscellaneous. And so I just want to know why those two line items weren't spelled out in the entire breakdown, because every other department, finance director salary and wages, finance director's operating expenses, it's all spelled out. So if Mr. Cruz can spell out those two lines.
That would not be a problem, Madam President.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, we'll get it done.
Council President, miscellaneous is usually MISC.
Thank you. And the initials C on the second page, the CEAS salary and wages.
That's the CEASE program.
So could you just
Yes, it's a CEASE program within the health department.
alrighty. Thank you. Could you just spread it out like the rest of the departments are, because those are the only three that I see like that. Thank you.
Okay, will do.
Okay.
Ms. Carter, you may continue.
20 under the Department of Law, 22-253, a resolution authorizing the settlement of a workman's compensation claim in the matter of.
I don't think that should be on there because we don't have executive session for that.
Yes, Council
Mr.
President,
Cruz?
I'd like to pull that, please, with your permission.
Yeah, well, it will be pulled on Thursday, right? Miss Carter, this will be pulled for Thursday.
Okay. Under the Department of Housing and Economic Development, 22-254, a resolution rejecting bids received for demolition of vacant abandoned structures in the city of Trenton. Contracting unit wants to substantially revise the specifications bids 2022-11. Is that consent or roll call?
You can make that a roll call for now.
Okay. 22-258 under the Department of Recreation. Resolution accepting and awarding a negotiated contract to Carson Food Services to provide breakfast and lunch for Trenton Summer Food Service Program for a period from June 20, 2022 to August 26th, 2022, in an amount not to exceed $359, no, can't be, $359,628. Consent or roll call?
Ms. Penny Edwards, the total number is 359,628.15 cents.
Okay.
Okay, that could be a part of the consent agenda.
Okay. Under the Department of Water and Sewer, the first resolution.
Can you move the screen up, please?
Oh, move the screen up. Which one? Next, go to the next page. Okay. No, you're not. You're still in the same place. Needs to show 22-255. That's what I'm showing. Oh, I didn't see that. Okay. Resolution 22-255 under Department of Water and Sewer is being asked to be pulled or removed. Resolution 22-256, a resolution rejecting proposals received for design, bidding, and construction phase engineering services for phase 1 for the installation of storage tanks located at 942 Prospect Street for the city of Trenton. The contracting unit wants to substantially revise the scope of services, CC 2201-04.
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead.
I don't know what substantially revised means, the scope of services, but again, our city is in a conundrum, to say the least, and I will be voting for anything that's above and beyond, and I'm not amending or revising any scope of work or making any change requests or anything that we previously approved going forward until the authorities have concluded their investigation. So I won't be voting on that one.
Council President, this is to reject the bid. We're not making anything with this resolution, just rejecting the bid. That is all.
Okay. Nope. Okay.
Yeah. So Mr. Cruz, let me just ask you a question on 22-254. You rejecting it to modify the specifications. So once these bids come in and all of the bids are unsealed and then they're rejected, I'm not understanding why we wait until these bids are unsealed. Could you just explain that to me? Because the bids came in, it was 5 bidders, and then the bids were unsealed to the other bidders. The lowest bid was exposed to the other bidders, and now we want to modify the specifications. I don't understand why that wasn't done when it initially went out.
Madam President. So on a general comment, normally when the bids come in, you look at the prices and then you determine whether perhaps the bid in certain areas of the bids may not be in line with the projections that you had done for the project, and that is when it's determined that perhaps something needed to be explained a little better, or perhaps the technical specifications needed to be written a certain way. And that is why sometimes these things are rejected. And I believe that may have been the case with this bid in the water department. But I am sure Mr. Lavenberg can elaborate on that
No,
if that is not.
I was talking about 22-254 because it was being rejected for to modify the specifications, and I
56.
thought that and I thought that the specifications should always be in the basic the basic paperwork when you put it out to bid, when you put the RFP out. I thought that the specifications supposed to be included in the RFP. So that's why I'm just a little perplexed about why it's being rejected to modify the specifications.
Right. So the word scope of services, Madam President, actually encompasses everything: the specs, the drawings, the scope of the work, as you called it. It's all part of the scope of services. So if there is something there when when the proposals come in, and they see that they are not getting the answer that they're looking for, it could be by means of a price, or it could be by means of how they say they are going to approach a project. Then that is when the bids, the proposals are rejected, and they proceed to make those adjustments with the division that is actually going out and trying to get these services. But that is actually what that word scope of services covers: the specs, the drawings, and anything else in the in the when we put out the scope of services to the contractors.
So yeah. All right. So I was just trying to figure out if the scope of the services went out in the RFQs or the RFPs, and then if the scope of service went out in them, then why do we wait to open up the bid and expose the lowest bidder? That's my question,
Right.
and I don't know if you answered it or not, but I think when you once you open up those bids and expose that lowest bid, to me that's a problem within itself. If it was done, if the information went out and it wasn't right, or it needed to be amended or modified, or however you want to put it, I just feel like it should be done before you expose that lowest bidder.
Yeah. So sometimes, Madam President, those, and as you mentioned, you are correct, and those are called addendums as you go along, and you do the addendums to the specifications as you go along when you capture them. However, there are times that perhaps maybe when you do those explanations, and I don't know if that is the case, as I mentioned with this one, when you do those explanations, sometimes it just makes it worse because it may not be making sense with the overall scope of what the services that the contracting unit was looking for. So, and like I said, I don't know if that is the case. I don't know that there were addendums that were sent out to these individuals. So I'm not going to say that that was the case with this one, but those are, I mean, it's a logical way of seeing things, but sometimes it just doesn't happen that way.
Thanks. I'm going to continue, Ms. Carter.
Okay, resolution 22-557. Oh, is this one going to be roll call? Is 256 going to be roll call or consent?
It could be part of the consent.
Okay, 22-557 is a resolution rejecting proposals received for design bidding and construction phase engineering services for major upgrade to the central plumbing station. The contracting unit wants to substantially revise the scope of services under RFP 2021-36.
That could be part of the consent agenda, Ms. Carter.
Okay. Can you change the,
Sit over to the.
yeah, to the agenda? The next thing on the, that's the end of the docket. And the next thing on the agenda is public comments.
All righty, and the public comments are based on the docket.
Can I have a motion to open public comments?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Is there anyone out there on the phone?
I see
Is there
people
anyone out?
with hands up.
All right, let us
First
see if there's
here
anyone out
is,
on the phone. Councilwoman Vaughn, let us see if there's anyone on the phone lines, because we had a problem.
Okay, all right, you gotta wait till I chime in. Anyone on the phones? Okay, I'm gonna go to the hands. The first person is Michael Rinaldo. Michael Rinaldo?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Now we can't, Michael. Can't
You
hear
can
you.
or you cannot. I could.
Now we can now.
Now we can now. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Speaking to the public comment limitation that you want to prescribe, I think that's a mistake. And one of the things that I heard mentioned was that it's concerning taxpayers in the city of Trenton. Without intervention and assistance from every taxpayer across the state of New Jersey in the form of the aid that comes into Trenton, Trenton would not exist. And I think allowing the possibility of excluding those people is a mistake. I'll leave that at that. And I also think that this change would be a logistical nightmare, because I don't hear how you are going to account for people where they're located, how you're going to prove that somebody exists where they say they do. You're going on the honor system, I'm assuming. So I just see this as unnecessary, considering the length of public comment. I've gone back and reviewed other meetings, and public comment is generally not that long. The longest part of the meeting are the 6 hours of the actual council meeting prior to the maybe 15 or 20 minutes of public comment, unless there's a pressing issue like I'm going to bring up TAR when that brought a lot of callers to the call, but generally that doesn't happen. So I would urge council to reconsider this, because it just doesn't seem like a common sense thing. And it seems really unnecessary, and I believe will cause more confusion and conflict than anything else. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate it.
The next person is Caroline.
Go right
Good
ahead.
evening. Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Councilwoman Vaughn. I would like to speak to the resolution prioritizing Trentonians as well. So my understanding is that the resolution says that residents, property owners, business owners, and ratepayers get priority to speak at council meeting, and that anyone who doesn't fall in that group gets to speak after those people. Right? I hope that I'm understanding this as I heard Attorney Kaloji explained. So I just want to state, this is the City of Trenton's council meeting. Council meetings are held to conduct Trenton's business. So I am unclear exactly what is wrong with allowing the stakeholders in Trenton to speak first. What is so alarming about permitting or prioritizing the voice of Trentonians? I'm speaking.
Caroline, someone
Yes.
is being very rude and it's coming from 396-2050.
Well, ask IT to, IT, will you mute them?
I am muted.
That makes sense.
Now we accommodated, folks. Be respectful of your residents and your neighbors.
Go ahead, okay,
Caroline?
Councilwoman Vaughn. Go ahead, Caroline.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So I read a couple of articles regarding the resolution. I heard that there were concerns with First Amendment. The federal court already said there were no First Amendment problems, that the residency restriction was reasonable, and that it was permissible. The resolution is not about the content that the speaker was trying to convey. It's about stakeholders' prioritization. Then I heard that there were concerns about transparency. The resolution is clear. The concerns of Trenton residents, property owners, business owners, and ratepayers come first. Others come second. What is opaque about prioritizing the voice and concerns of those who elected you and the financial stakeholders? How does this resolution promote secrecy? Words are being used here because they're triggering certain responses, but I'm urging my fellow Trentonians not to respond emotionally, but listen carefully and think critically. Ask, what exactly is not transparent here? Then I heard concerns about the Open Public Meetings Act. Mr. Kaloji addressed that. The Open Public Meeting Act says you must hold a meeting open to the public. That's been the case. Nothing changed here. Then the act goes on to say you have to set aside a portion for public comment. Nothing changed. That's still the case here. The only thing that changed was the order of the public comments, right? The members of the public of the city of Trenton, the residents, the taxpayers, the business owners, and the ratepayers, they comment first. If time permits, others get to comment. Prioritizing is different than exclusion. Prioritizing does not offend the Open Public Meetings Act. Then there was concerns that the resolution targets certain groups that challenge council decision. The only group that's being targeted here is Trentonian. The residents, the business owners, the taxpayers, and the ratepayers are being targeted as priority speakers. No other group or topic is mentioned in the resolution that I read. Trentonians, we elect our decision makers, and we have the biggest stake in challenging their decisions. And we do at every single council meeting that I have attended. I'm hoping the speaker isn't saying that the council from non-Trentonians is as important as the challenge from Trentonians, because that would be truly insulting and disrespectful to the residents who voted you in. So yes, the resolution does target certain group, and that group is Trentonians. And then I heard that we should, because we accept state funding, we should allow any New Jerseyan to comment at our meeting. So is the speaker saying that because we are a financially distressed city and the state gives us money, that we have less agency, less rights to regulate our meetings than a richer municipality? Is he saying that others have equal rights to us in our meetings? Listen, anyone can visit your house. Does that mean that they have the same rights in your house as you do? No, you have a right to set the rules in your house about visitors. And non-Trentonians are indeed visitors to our meetings. So I am just taken aback by all the concerns that are being raised here, right? I heard that lots of people have legitimate reasons to speak at council meetings. That's true, right? There are lots of people who want to speak, and that's exactly why we have to prioritize. Anyone who wants to complain regarding a speed trap, if you're a resident, you get to complain first, and if you're not, you get to complain second. Concerns regarding censorship. There is nothing here about the content of the speech. It's about your residency. So censorship doesn't even play a role here, right? I do have a concern that I didn't hear. And the concern is that while non-Trentonians are taking up the public comment airtime, Trentonians are being left with less airtime to air their concerns and their priorities. Why is that not equally concerning here? Why is that not concerning that the voices in a predominantly brown and Black city were not being prioritized in the first place? Why isn't it concerning that the idea of empowering and prioritizing urban voices triggered the responses that I'm hearing tonight? Why is it wrong to put Trenton's residents, business owners, taxpayers, and ratepayers first? Is it because this is a radical shift from what has historically happened in the Trentons of America? Now, that's a reason to be concerned, and I am concerned about that. Thank you to the council members and to their attorney for the shift to prioritizing our voices. Good night.
Council President, the next one is Lydia Thornton.
Go right ahead, Ms. Thornton.
Thank you. Lydia Thornton, I am a Trenton resident. I'm also speaking about the ordinance about limiting to residents, etc. I will go back to something Mr. Ranello said, and that is, how are you going to prove it? Who is the determiner of the order of speech and determining? There's certain names, obviously we know where they live, they speak at council all the time. But those who don't speak as often, how are we going to determine that? And who is going to be that determiner that says, oh, we're out of time, these 5 people can't speak because we determined they weren't residents? I see a gaping hole in that as a problem, because I can say whatever street I want, really. And the second question that kind of goes along with this, when we shifted clerks and the office changed and, Miss Penny Carter took over, which we thank her for taking that, all of a sudden the clerk doesn't choose the order of speakers. It's now Miss Vaughn who, evidently is the only person who can see who has their hand up, which I'm a little baffled by. And that again puts it in one council person's hand to determine who speaks. And if there's, a 20-minute or 30-minute limit on speakers, that, okay, these 6 are speaking, the other 3, sorry, we're out of time. And not saying that anyone, I'm not attacking anyone, would intentionally do something, but it's easy to miss. And it's easy to say, oh, that person's not a resident. Well, they might, be buying a business here. We don't know that until they get on the mic. They might be interested in investing here. We don't know that until they get on the mic to participate and ask questions and be a civically responsible citizen. And that's where my concern in that whole ordinance comes in, is when I moved here 7-8 years ago, y'all wouldn't have known who I was if I just, stood up and came up to the podium to speak. this never came up when we were in person because there weren't that many people in the room. Now that there's more people participating, all of a sudden it appears that it's a problem. And I just want everybody to think about why it all of a sudden is a problem. I'm not saying Trenton residents shouldn't have an important place in speaking, not at all. But I see some danger zones here that I just want everybody to be cognizant of. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Council President, the next one is Sherry Garrett. Sherry Garrett?
Sherry Garrett, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes.
now.
Oh, yes, Sherry Garrett, and I'm a West Ward resident. I'm going to speak on the, it's not on my agenda, but it's regarding the seasonal workers. It seems that when the council is deliberating on resolutions, that there's a lot of conflict in regards to the administration and mayor. And I just wanted to just read this into the record because it seems like it's an ongoing thing because there's a confusion on roles and how they relate to each other. And many of the conflicts in city government happens due to the role confusion resulting in council or administration and the staff thinking it's one or the other is overstepping the boundaries between respective roles. And, you know, the city council is similar to the state legislators or Congress, and the mayor is like the governor and the president or the head of the executive branch, and there are checks and balances. And I'm just going to read this really quick because I think it's important, because it keeps coming up and it's always being questioned with Mr. Kaloji in regarding to this resolution. It says, as the chief executive and administrative officer of the city, mayor is in charge of carrying out policies set by the council and seeing that local laws are enforced. The mayor is basically in charge of the day-to-day operations of the city, including the supervision of all appointed officials and employees. The mayor oversees the hiring and firing of all appointed officers and employees subject to civil laws where applicable, except for those towns, councils have some authority to require confirmation of the appointment of certain officials. Councils may not have, however, require confirmation of firing by the mayor. The mayor, in general, the mayor has the authority to enforce contracts, bring lawsuits with council's approval, preside over council meetings in some classes of city, exercise some tie-breaking authority with respect to council votes, and veto authority over the ordinance. Call special meetings of the council, prepare a proposed budget, report to the council on financial and other affairs needs of the city, approve or disapprove all official bonds and contractors' bonds. The mayor performs as ceremonial head of the city. Okay, this is a consistent. Now, the city council, the power of the council in general is the minister and carry out those policies or legislation, but the city council has the power to enact a city budget, define the powers, functions, and duties of the city officers and employee, fix the compensation of officers and employees, establish the working conditions of the officer employees, maintain environment and fines and penalties for the violation of city ordinances, enter into contract, regulate the acquisition, sale, ownership, and other dispose of real estate property, provide governmental, recreational, educational, cultural, and social services, imposes taxes if not prohibited by state law, calls the city to own and operate utilities, approve claims against the city, grant franchises for the use of public ways, and license for the purpose of revenue and regulation most any type of business. In addition, the council is authorized to enact rules governing its procedures, including for public meetings and hearings. So I hope this kind of clarifies the roles of council, because I think there's really a lot of confusion for council members as well as really council members. That's what I'm really hearing about the powers of the council. So I would, if you would like the council, I can submit this, and we need a handbook and more defined roles than for this next incoming council and administration, because this has been the issue for the 4 years that this council and the administration is the understanding the clear-cut roles of the checks and balances and who does what. Thank you.
Before we go on, I just wanted to respond to that and just tell Ms. Garrett that we do have brochures that I had printed up at the beginning of our tenure explaining the roles and the duties of council members. So we do understand fully. They're in the clerk's office, and anyone can go down there and pick them up and pick one up.
But most importantly, it's in the city code in our charter. City code defines the role of every board commission.
The next person, Councilwoman Vaughn.
In the city code.
The next speaker.
So the next one, I'm just giving good information here, city code. So the next person is Miss Lisa Rose.
Go right ahead, Miss Rose.
Thank you very much. I'll be very brief. I'd like to comment on the earlier discussion regarding 22-243. I certainly understand if there were data that showed that residents and property taxpayers in the city of Trenton were not getting to voice their concerns at meetings. I know that one other speaker mentioned a casual review of data from recent meetings, but while well-intended, I think that this is a solution for a problem that doesn't exist. But since council will be considering this further, I'd like to respectfully offer some discussion points for consideration. And Council President McBride, with your consent, I would suggest that Mr. Kaloji have the opportunity perhaps to respond or elaborate on his earlier comments in light of these questions. Mr. Kaloji noted the language of the Open Public Meetings Act, which I will underscore here, says the public. General principles of statutory interpretation say that had the legislature intended for only residents or property taxpayers to be prioritized, that would have been so written in the legislation. Accordingly, it's my view that the enumerated groups in the proposed 243 are actually a subset of the public. And in practicality, this is impossible to efficiently regulate, because what it would do is, if I'm understanding the proposal correctly, create tiers, right? Because there's priority levels. So if a person came late, or if a person did not properly raise their hand or register, once you moved on to the second tier, how would you efficiently ensure that that person had their voice? So the property tax payer, the resident, as the first example, right? And then secondly, Mr. Kaloji notes correctly, there's not, heavy case law in New Jersey to rely upon. And he cites to an 11th Circuit case. If he could possibly share that case citation, it would be helpful. I'm perplexed why we would rely heavily on a non-precedential, non-binding opinion from the 11th Circuit for the benefit of those who aren't familiar with the circuit constructs. The 11th Circuit includes Georgia, I think Mississippi, and Florida, not anything from our region here where there is such a strong tradition of open government and transparency. And then lastly, I would just proffer the suggestion that there is a group of who have a particularized interest who are not included in that tiering, and that is public workers and nonprofit workers who spend probably 75% of their waking hours in the city of Trenton, and more importantly, actually contribute to the economy of the capital city. So they are not transient pass-through folks, but folks who are daily there. And so if there is a distinction between a particularized and generalized interest, which there is not in the OPMA as written, I would suggest that there are other groups that are not being seen. Thank you, Council President, for the opportunity to speak.
Next person, Councilwoman Vaughn.
The next person is 609-396-2050.
Are they on the phone?
No, they got their hand up. Unmute yourself.
Yes, this is Faith Ann Pearson.
Go right ahead.
I have one question referencing to 22-254. I know you've heard about the big fire here on Clinton Avenue at that abandoned apartment complex. I think it's across the street from Catholic Charities. And I was wondering, why are we rejecting bids to have vacant properties demolished, which could cause another issue similar to that into a smaller home?
Okay. The next person is Miss Mary Horn.
Go right ahead, Ms. Horn.
Ms. Pearson, can you mute yourself?
Ms. Horn.
Unmute yourself, Ms. Horn.
I'm sorry about, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now I can.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I'll lower my hand. Yes. I totally agree with Miss Caroline. I don't know how I can follow her, but that was astounding and it made perfect sense to me. Now, as far as it comes to the water department, that's Trentonian's biggest asset there.
Ms. Horn, do you have something on that is causing an echo?
I think it's in the system, Council President. I think it's in the system.
It may be because I can go to another part of the room. I just want to say briefly, I totally agree with Miss Caroline. It perfectly said, right on point. Trentonians, they are owners of Trenton Waterworks, and 2010, it was an astounding court case that the Trentonians won in order to keep Trentonians as the owners and the other surrounding ratepayers. So Trentonians should have the first bite of the apple. I use that term because the fact is that we pay our taxes here. We should be able to get on and speak as we deserve to do and as we feel. And outsiders, sometimes when I say outsiders, I hope nobody gets offended, but how much can you tell Trentonians about what we experience every day, what we pay, our rates, what we need in this city? And I believe we should be talking about that. Trentonians, we should hear about how Trentonians feel. And as I said, Miss Caroline, she was right on. She was point on, and I appreciate everything she said. And it's not too much more I can say of that. Is that I believe in that Trentonians should have the most say when it comes to Trenton Waterworks. As I said, in 2010, we won that right. And I think we should go forward with it. How much more can some outsiders tell us about our waterworks than what we already know and what we already need? And we should be able to talk about what we need in this city. Lead line replacement, our water supply, our schools, a water supply that goes to our schools, and different things like that. We need to be heard. And that's all I need to say. And thank you, Miss Caroline. You said it best. Thank you.
Next person.
The next person is Miss C, Miss Trenton Business.
Go right ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to,
This is Miss Chowdhury. I'm a property owner here in Trenton. I just wanted to applaud the people who do come and always voice their opinions. I think that what's happening with people not being heard inside urban areas is part of a larger issue. It's something that happens in a lot of urban areas, and I think it's part of a trend of disempowerment. Populations, it's a trend of disempowerment. Minority populations, and it happens in a lot of urban cities, and it's one of the reasons that urban cities go into decline. So I think that it's very important that power shifts back to Trentonians, and that their voices and Trenton stakeholder voices are heard first, because there's such an abundance of other interests, and I question the motivation behind those interests. Oftentimes it seems just economic. Once there's an economic interest, and all of a sudden, people kind of come out from different corners and want to be decision makers. But Trentonians need to continue taking back this empowerment. I think it's part of a larger trend of disempowering urban populations, making sure that people can't vote because they have an old criminal record, because they sold a dime bag or consumed a dime bag. They face disenfranchisement with driving, which I find really disturbing. So many Trentonians that I've run into and talked to don't have their licenses for a variety of just non-reasonable reasons, but then they're caught behind not being able to drive, and these are grown adults. So I think it's just part of a larger trend of an effort really to disempower stakeholders. So the first priority has to go to Trentonians, throughout. And the other thing I wanted to comment on was, and going back to that, it basically indicates, and implies and assumes that people can't or should not decide for themselves, and it's just a part of broken urban politics. And Trenton has a chance to be different and break these problematic patterns. The other thing I wanted to comment on was I would like to see the police come forth with a public comment on the Henderson case. Judge Juan Henderson was approached by police, harassed by them, and subsequently shot. And I haven't seen a lot of forthcoming public comment about that from any of the politicians in Trenton. Well, not any, but many of them. And it seems to be like it's a forgotten issue. This man's civil rights were so stepped on. I can't imagine that the police has any reasonable reason to say that they approached his car. And I think it's just going to be something that's going to get repeated until this pattern is broken. So I wanted to know why there hasn't been more of a public-facing comment from the police department or from their spokespeople on their site. I know that they're going to use the excuse that it's a case that's under review, but that's not a good enough excuse. Like, these kind of patterns strongly influence urban policing, and they need to be nipped in the bud. Civil rights cannot be ignored like that. Civil rights are as important as any other rights. And when police transgress civil rights, it makes them criminals, and they should be prosecuted as such. I wanted to just briefly ask about the Trenton Free Public Library and just suggest that there be a better link to the Trenton Free Public Library, because there's some very good programs there. I've noticed that they have a lot of good summer programs for children. They have an ESL program, but a lot of Trentonians I've talked to don't know about the programs. So I just wanted to suggest that there be like a better link, or that maybe the Trenton Free Public Library can get a page dedicated to them on the Trenton municipal site. And the last thing I wanted to comment on was speed signs. There's still no 25 miles an hour school speed limit signs, except for a couple in front of Trenton High. There's none on Greenwood still. So I just want to, voice that concern. There needs to be signage on this street. We've had multiple accidents on the street. We have a couple of intersections that are unregulated. There's no lights there. And so we continue to have speeding problems. And I talk to people in Trenton, and this is a kind of a resident issue, but there's a lot of people who speed in Trenton. on various residential streets, and it's dangerous, and it's going to cause more problems. We recently had a police car that wrapped itself around a pole on Chambers Street. So you have to be going at a pretty, decent speed to be able to cause that kind of accident. And it really concerns me because a lot of people hang out on that corner down Chambers, and it was just luck that no one was injured. So we need to have better speed regulation, particularly around the school. I just want to see if someone can get on that project, because I know I can't. But we really need speeding signs on Greenwood and all the other streets around the school. Hundreds of kids, come out of here, every afternoon. And there's a lot of children in this area to begin. So, and that's it. Thank you.
Next person, Councilwoman.
The next person is Kaja Manuel.
Go right ahead, Mr. Manuel.
Hello, thank you, Council, for allowing me to speak. I'll make my remarks very brief. It's in response to the ordinance that prioritizes Trenton residents and their comments during public comment. There's been a lot of misinformation on social media.
Council President, before Mr. Manuel continue, can you have the person mute themselves?
Yes, I've asked IT to please. I've asked IT to try to identify the source.
All right, stop. Continue, Mr. Manuel.
Thank you. There's been a ton of misinformation and a ton of privilege that needs to be checked at the door when it comes to the prioritization of not only the residents, but the business owners, the taxpayers, so on and so forth. Imagine me being so privileged to call into a town in which I do not live, seeking prioritization over their city council public comments for their residents. And this isn't about censorship. I've seen a lot and I've heard a lot about folks worrying about censorship or, well, our voices matter. And, well, a town like Trenton relies so much on, its neighboring towns, and all of that is true. But at the end of the day, people who don't live here or own businesses here or pay taxes here, your voices do matter, but they matter more where you live. So as a resident, as a homeowner, I urge you, I implore you to express your grievances, but express them to your council because you have one too. Now, it's just a prioritization. I have another question that I would like you to sit on and think for yourself. Do you think that you deserve priority over Trenton residents and its business owners and its taxpayers? And if you do, ask yourself why. And it probably is because, just like Ms. Chowdhury said, urban communities often go down downward spirals. And it's because of outside interests who are used to the silent hand in having ownership in urban communities like Trenton. And that's going to change. And I think this is the first step of many first steps that will enable that change. So check your privilege at the door and ask yourself why you feel so entitled to have prioritization in another municipality's council meeting over their residents and taxpayers and those who pay their ratables. It's madness. It's almost like we're in the Twilight Zone. People are arguing with an entirely different municipality's council for prioritization over public comment in a town in which they do not live. You can't make it up. That's nothing but privilege, and it needs to be checked right at the door. It doesn't make sense, and that's all. That's all I want to speak on. Thank you.
Council President, I don't see. You can go to the phones now, Council President.
Yes, is there anyone on the phone lines that would like to speak? Is there anyone on the phone lines? Mr. Manuel, you can put your hand down, and Ms. Trenton, you can put your hand down. Seeing none or hearing no one from the phones, I would make a motion to close public comment.
There's somebody who put their hand, I'm sorry, Anthony Michael or Michael Anthony.
Hi, good evening, Council.
Go right ahead.
Michael Anthony from the East Ward. So I think Kaja did a great job talking about, putting Trenton first. And I'll give you a short, perfect example of how we were not put first, not by council, but individuals believing that they have precedent to speak at our meetings. specifically with TAR. As I recall it, I sat in on every meeting, specifically the first meeting when they were up for that bid. And everybody that spoke on their behalf was from outside our little miles. No one in the city actually spoke up for them. We may have went and got the free dog food and a few other things, but we didn't speak up for them. And we spent weeks on weeks on weeks with their people from surrounding areas feeling the need to jump into our meetings to talk about a shelter right when we were in the middle of Jawan Henderson being shot. So I strongly agree with this resolution that it really should be Trenton first. Everybody else should come secondary if council president allows. This is our city, and if you're not living in it and breaking bread with us, we have a lot of work to do, and we don't need the outside comments. We don't need the outside dictatorships. We don't need anything that's got to do with outside unless you're giving us money. And I yield the floor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Vaughn, is there anyone else with their hand up? There's no one else answering to the phone lines. And so again, I make a motion to close public comment.
So move. Second.
You're seconding it?
Second, yes, sorry.
Ms. Carter. Ms. Carter?
Yes, ma'am.
All in
Councilwoman
favor?
Caldwell Wilson,
Yes.
Councilman Harrison. Councilman Harrison. Councilman Michelle,
Yes.
Councilman Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaughn,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wilkins,
Yes.
Council President McBride.
Yes.
Now we need a motion for to open civic comments.
So moved.
So move.
Second.
Councilwoman Wilkins moved it.
Oh, second?
Councilwoman Vaughn, second.
Okay, whatever, I didn't.
Councilwoman Caldwell Wilson,
Yes.
Councilman Harrison,
Yes.
Councilman Michelle,
Yes.
Councilman Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaughn,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wilkins,
Yes.
Council President McBride.
Yes.
Unanimously carried. To open for civic comments.
Councilwoman Caldwell Wilson?
Not at this time.
Councilman Harrison?
Well, I'd like to start off by saying we should be back in the chambers. We wouldn't be having these problems like we've been having ongoing with the meetings where the meetings are cutting in and out. Again, like I said, I didn't think there was ever a problem regarding the public because everybody who comes to our meetings is able to speak. My concern is it's a dictatorship. I just don't think it's fair. I think that at the end of the day, it says it provides public comment for the discretion of the council president. I think everybody should have a chance to speak at our meetings. Like I said, our meetings run too long because it's going over and over. Prime example, like I said tonight, regarding the salaries contract for the union is done with the administration and the union, not the council. Council does the salaries for the directors, and the salaries for the employees is done with the union and the administration. So at the end of the day, I think everybody should have a chance to talk. But like I said, we should be back in public. These meetings should be back in public, so everybody can come there in the public meetings, come to the chambers and see us face to face. Meetings should be back in public. So with that said, thank you.
Councilman Michelle?
Nothing at this time. Thank you. Good night.
Councilman Rodriguez?
Oh yes, I have to start with by applauding Ms. Caroline Mary Ann Horn, and the others that spoke in favor of this resolution. Trenton belongs to the Trentonians. No matter what Mr. Ranallo says, Mr. Ranallo, the reason Trenton is in distress is because the state owns a great amount of our prime real estate without paying taxes. Finally, they gave us $10 million, not because they wanted to, it was because Councilwoman Robin Bond fought for it. On her own, she did it. And now the $10 million are restricted to certain things that we can do about it. Mr. Ranallo, if it wasn't for Trenton, probably New Jersey would not exist as it is now. The borough of Trenton, right there in downtown, at Mill Hill Park, was the catalyst. Was that made this nation this nation? It started in Trenton, Mr. Ranallo. You probably don't know our history because you just came in from outside, but I have been here 52 years. I know Trenton's history very well, and I've been through the ups and downs. Trenton is great. The state have an obligation to fix up Trenton because they are occupying our space, because they don't change on themselves, coming every day to Trenton and looking at all this distress and doing nothing about it. The governor, your governor, Mr. Ranallo, I tell you, Mr. Ranallo, why do you have to vouch for outsiders? Is that the way you're going to do it when you are sitting in city council? Are you going to be a city council person for the outsiders, for Princetonians, from people from area code 732, from people from Levittown, Pennsylvania?
Please stop addressing me in person. Thank you.
Wait a minute. Mr. Ronaldo, you will not interrupt a councilman when they're speaking.
He blocked my Facebook page, imagine. He don't believe in freedom of speech at all. He don't. But Mr. Ranallo, if you feel that in Trenton we have to be paying so much in outsiders, you should go live there. Move out of Trenton, Mr. Ranallo. You should.
You don't even live here.
You shouldn't be bothering. Go ahead and move out of Trenton. And I'm glad that Caroline, I tell you, Trenton belongs to us, Trentonians. If you don't feel that you are a Trentonian, get the heck out of Trenton. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Kaloji. Mr. Edward Kaloji.
Yes, Council President.
I need you to speak to the decorum of this council right now. Because for some reason or another, Mr. Ronaldo think that he can be disrespectful and interrupt the council meetings. He has no respect for this body, and he should be muted. But Mr. Kaloji, would you definitely give the rules of decorum?
Want me to remove now? No. Well, the council has codified into its code a policy of decorum that relates to both the council people and to people in the audience. And it's really something that should be a lot of common sense. No indecorous language, no personal attacks. I mean, spirited conversation and spirited debate is welcome, but it should never get beyond that. And it's obviously within the discretion of the council president to make a determination when somebody's going over the line. There's an entire policy at A316 in the code.
Mr. Kaloji, while you're speaking, he's being disrespectful. Miss Pinella, where's IT at? I want him shut out of the remainder of this meeting.
Mike Pinella.
Lock them up.
I'm sorry, Council President, I missed the last part of what you said.
I'm trying to find
He said lock them up.
Michael Rinaldo, kick them out.
Yep.
Well, under the circumstances, when we were in person, there's a sergeant at arms that is in the room, which is one of the officers, and he would enforce the decorum in the chamber. Since we are not in chambers, I assume it's being enforced in a way of an IT situation, muting people, stopping people from further communication. It shouldn't get to that. Everyone should just conduct themselves appropriately and we wouldn't have to deal with it.
He rejoined. I'd just like to say.
He shouldn't be able to rejoin.
I can't ban people from the meeting.
Well,
That's not-
right, you can, the same way you would get someone exited from the chambers if we were in person, you could conclude their speaking if it gets to a certain point, which is within your discretion to determine.
Thank you. Thank you. Alrighty, Councilwoman, Vaughn.
Yes, thank you, Council President. And I really appreciate the civic engagement here.
What?
And
Huh?
Who's that?
I'm trying to find out. I think it was this human person.
okay, I really appreciate the civic engagement here, and attention to the dialogue.
Hello? Oh, I can do this. I can disable
You should be muting yourself,
their mic.
and you know you're doing it intentionally, whoever that is.
Miss Carter, mute yourself, please.
So, the former clerk, Mr. Harris, before Mr. Collin, he used to just delete them out of the meeting. So we can do that. The technology can do that as well. So I just want to say, I just appreciate the civic engagement here tonight, the dialogue. This is what council meetings are for. And there's a lot of stuff on the docket that folks are concerned about, that I get emails about. People are still concerned about the crime in the city. People are concerned about the decrepit housing. We're also concerned about the rate that the mayor is, or the administration, Mr. Daniels, is selling property on the docket. The residents and stakeholders of our city are asking how these properties are being sold, where they're being sold, how the prices are so low considering the real estate market is booming. So I just want to say that I appreciate the comments from Ms. Chowdhury, from Ms. Caroline, from Kaja Manuel, and from the others who are in complete opposition, as far as a pretext of the process and how it's going to be facilitated. Well, I go to most public meetings and you have to sign in, and that's the way it was when we were pre-pandemic. That when you came into City Hall and you came into a council meeting, there was a desk, a table to your left, and you had to sign in. And if you wanted to speak, you had to write your name on that list, your address, and Mr. Harris, the clerk at the time, will have that list and reference that list and share that with the council president as to who, so the council president was able to know who was expected to speak. And I believe in the technical form here, we can facilitate that very easily. And I see Kamal Bafla on the line. I think Kamal should be taking good notes here and coming up with a requirement as to how we can facilitate online meetings in this virtual forum, as well as have in-person meetings as well, and to facilitate a hybrid solution for the residents of the city. But I just want to add on to this resolution around prioritizing Trentonians. And I'm just going to read quickly from the actual law or summary judgment that came out of the 11th Circuit Court. The 11th Circuit consists of Alabama, Florida, and Georgia, not Mississippi. I think somebody said Mississippi. And it says that some case law represents that city council meetings are held to conduct business meetings for the city and its residents. It is reasonable for a city to restrict the individuals who may speak at meetings to those individuals who have a direct stake in the business of the city. For example, citizens of the city or those who receive a utility service from the city, so long as that restriction is not based on the speaker's point of view. That refers to our ratepayers. And it goes on to say, as we have noted, there is a significant governmental interest in conducting orderly, efficient meetings that are limited to a specific subject matter germane to an agenda at hand. To permit non-residents, those without a direct stake in the outcome of a city's business, to ramble aimlessly at city council meetings on topics not related to agenda items would be inefficient and would unreasonably usurp the presiding officer's authority to regulate irrelevant debate at a public meeting. So the restrictions and the challenge regulations are reasonable and viewpoint neutral. So these folks, we see how folks carried on here tonight. And some of these folks don't live here. They're not stakeholders, and they're disruptive. So the presiding officer have a right to prioritize for efficiency. And the law of the land, as it stands today, permits that in a constitutional manner. So all these excuses about, oh, we can't facilitate it. Well, we can, and we will, in order to ensure that Trentonians and stakeholders, as property owners, as taxpayers, the ratepayers, and our utility service areas take priority. And all others, we are interested in hearing them too, at the presiding officers per the decision of our council president. And that's that. And folks should come to the meeting and conduct themselves in a way if they really want to participate, or I would want our council president to enforce getting those individuals offline, deleting them. And that's what should happen. And I just want our Housing and Economic Development Department to be cognizant and stop devaluing our city and start selling our property and our land, public property and land at market rates, and just stop giving our property and land away for pennies on the dollar. And I just, I'm going to close my statements, my civic statements tonight. Comment to, I'm hoping and praying the best for our city, the capital city. We're under 5 subpoenas. We take those seriously. Our city is pretty much you can't do business when your city has been operating under a federal 5 governmental agency subpoenas. It's hard to do that. A lot of folks are on edge, are anxious, and we just want the authorities to come back with their findings, and hopefully they're generic in nature, and it has little impact to our city and some of the people who are involved, so we can move the city forward. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you, Council President, and thank you all for joining, and I'll see you on Thursdays.
Thank you. Councilwoman Wilkins, before you start your civic comment, if you're going to move your resolution to the floor, it has to be moved tonight in order for it to go on the docket for Thursday for vote or discussion. So
the ARPA funds
yes,
resolution?
That resolution, yes, the number of the resolution, it has to be moved to the floor on Tuesday night in order for it to be added to the agenda on Thursday for any discussion or vote.
Okay, I move to untable the resolution so that we can have discussion and vote on Thursday for the ARPA funds for the seasonal employees for the city of Trenton.
Do you have the number of the resolution so Ms. Penny Carter can pull it? If not, she'll have to look for it and pull it tomorrow. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
All righty. Mm-hmm. We'll make sure of that. Miss Penny Carter?
Second?
Yes, go right ahead, Ms. Wilkins, and go to your civic comment, and I'll talk with her after you're finished.
Okay, so I just needed to untable it. That's it?
Yes.
Okay.
We need a second to our motion.
I thought so, but.
Yeah, we do. We need a second to your motion to untable it.
I'll second it.
Councilwoman Caldwell Wilson?
Yes.
Councilman Harrison?
Yes.
Councilman Michelle?
Yes.
Councilman Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaughn?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wilkins?
Yes.
Council President McBride?
Yes.
Unanimously carried.
Okay, do I go into my civic comments now?
Yes, Councilwoman Wilkins.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna be brief. I just wanted to make some comments based on all of the things that were said tonight. There was a lot said tonight with regards to the city of Trenton. Did that make sense? It makes sense because this is about Trenton. It doesn't make sense because who else are we talking about but Trenton? Trenton is always first. No matter what is going on, when it comes to this council, and what kind of council would we be not to put Trenton first? You know, a lot of people have their opinions and, you know, statements that they made with regards to the resolution and how we're prioritizing our city council meetings. But this is how our city should be prioritized in actuality. Trenton should always be first. Trentonians should be first. Residents should be first. You know, it seems like that because Trenton has been put on the back burner for so long that it's become the norm. But we're trying to move beyond the norm. We're trying to move beyond what was the status quo. This doesn't need to be the status quo. Trenton is moving in a new direction. This is the capital city. We have to get it back to its past glory and get it to its future glory and what it can be and what it will be. But it's important that people know that it is all about Trenton. On this council, it is about Trenton. I don't care how you slice it. It's about this city and the residents and the stakeholders and the business owners, the ratepayers. They do have a say, but it's about Trenton. I just can't imagine how anyone would want to come. I'm piggybacking off of some things that were said. Why would anyone want to come here and be so concerned about Trenton? But what that lets me know is that you have an interest in the city. You can have an interest in the city, but it's our city. It's our city. You know, so many times Trentonians aren't informed. It's time that Trentonians become more informed. I don't have a problem with people wanting to give comment, people wanting to assist the city, but Trentonians are first. The taxpayers, the residents, they're first. They have a say in what goes on in this city. They have a say on how we legislate because they're the only ones that can elect us into office. You know, and more than just a resolution prioritizing how, you know, things are done at public meetings, Trent deserves so much more. This city is a diamond in the rough. There's so much revenue, so much capital, so much money that comes through this city, and you can't see it based on how the city looks. You know, they were talking about the fine tuning of the council meeting and how we're going to set this up that people will know that they're Trentonians that are speaking first, you know, the taxpayers and the residents, and as the list goes on. There's some fine tuning that needs to be done, yes. But how about we take the first step? How about we take the first step to prioritize Trenton, to make Trenton first? Let's take that first step. You know, there was some debate about, with trying to change the salary to give the seasonal residents more money. That's because we are putting Trenton first. It's nothing wrong with going into discussion. It's nothing wrong with having debate, healthy debate about what we're trying to do for the residents, for the citizens, those who are future employees. It's nothing wrong with that. When are we going to stop just going with the status quo and say, oh, Trent, they can wait? It stops today. It's actually going to stop Thursday when we vote the resolution in, because I'm in support of the resolution. But I want to thank everyone for attending the meeting. Thank you for your civic duty. Continue to stay engaged with the council meetings. We have a lot of work ahead of us. A lot of work ahead of us, but please, I want to say that Trenton has to come first. In regards to this council, Trenton is first. Thank you all. Have a good evening. Thank you, Council President.
Yes, thank you all. And I thank the public for coming out this evening. Your opinion matters. I would just like to say to the young man that was just so rude and kept interrupting the councilman when he was speaking, and then he went on to interrupt others. It's instances like that where we need to be able to really shut them down, because it makes no sense that you would come to a council meeting and disrespect a council member. It just doesn't, and it's unacceptable. And for the IT department, I just hope that you're able to get on top of this, because it's like having a heckler in the audience at every meeting, and this is for the business of the city. And when the council is speaking, the hecklers should really take a seat back. And again, for all of the directors, I would like to thank you. I would like to thank Mr. Cruz. And I think that the conversation tonight is what a council meeting is about. It's about compromise. I appreciate the effort that Councilwoman Wilkins, Councilwoman Vaughn, Mr. Harris, Paul Harris, and Director Richardson. I appreciate the hard work you guys put in to the seasonal workers. I'm quite sure that, they appreciate it. And again, I would like to thank all four of you for the effort put forward. And we will see you on Thursday. And Thursday will just be a night to vote. It won't be a lot of dialogue on Thursday for the council. It's a voting night. So hopefully you'll all tune back in on Thursday. And I thank you all again for coming out this evening. Thank you. Ms. Carter, you may move for a motion to close out the meeting.
May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Caldwell Wilson,
Yes.
Councilman Harrison,
Yes.
Councilman Michelle,
Yes.
Councilman Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaughn,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wilkins,
Yes.
Council President McBride.
Yes.
Unanimously carried to adjourn the meeting. So that's it.
Aye.
Hmm? So what should I do? Just end the meeting? End meeting?
Yeah, it's over completely. Yeah, you can end it then. That should work.